get to work this morning. And I get upstairs, and as I'm walking up the stairs, because I come in every day with 2 bevies. I come in with my Reggie bevy, and I come in with my Boosty bevy, my energy drink. And as I'm walking up the stairs with my 2, one is just flavored water, right? I like to start off with a little hydration. I'm a hydration homie in the AM. As I'm walking up the stairs on my nice dress boots that I wore because we're going to have a kick-ass day today, I tripped and ate bleep on the stairs. I mean, just flat out, poof, down, dead, done. And I spilled my regular drink. Fortunately, I laid out like Jerry Rice in the back of the end zone to save the energy drink, but I dropped my Reggie drink all over the floor. It went down behind and underneath the stairs where nobody goes, so I didn't have to like worry about. I mean, I went down there and wiped it up, but like it wasn't like, oh, I have to clean this up with a mop like I have done in the. Anyway, whatever. I ate it on the stairs, bit it on the stairs this morning. Get up here. And because I wasted all my time that I planned on having, changing a tire, and then eating crap on the stairs in the early portion of the AM, all of my extra time to upload audio and whatnot, poof, gone. Like the great Heather Dinich would say, poof, gone. So get to loading the audio or whatever, look down and I go, oh, it is quite literally 45 seconds till showtime. I should probably get into the studio. So I pick up the laptop to come into the studio, and what I do, I forget to unplug it from the speaker system and the docking system that allows me to use multiple monitors. And I don't know when I go back into the Fortress of Nerditude, I don't know which of my knickknacks, paddywhacks, odds, and ends are going to be thrown all over that office because I tried to rip my laptop out of the friggin' wall. I don't know what I broke, if anything, hopefully nothing of the station stuff or mine. I just know that there was a very loud noise that I did not turn around and look at because I'm pretty sure I would have let out one of those primal guttural screams that you let out when everything's going wrong. However,
I hope you didn't break my TV.
I know it wasn't the TV because it was all on my desk.
Okay.
All your stuff is fine. I just don't know which of my stuff is broken.
All right.
However, here's what I do know, people. What I do know is that it is only 6:09 in the morning. And what I know is that as of right now, like Queen said, you can't stop me. Don't stop me now. We have got 3 hours and 50 minutes on the dot of the most electrifying sports talk entertainment that you're going to find anywhere in America at 6 o'clock in the morning. And I'm ready. I'm ready. You can't take me down. Shoot the thrill, play to kill. I cannot tell you how jacked up I am about the show today. Because today is Tuesday, last I checked. And that means Monday, everybody else calls it Overreaction Monday. We call it, well, Actually Monday because we don't react on the Rob Brown Show. We just regular react. Everybody else overreacts. We regular react. So we reacted yesterday. Today, we kind of go, all right, let's put the emotion behind us. Let's leave that in the dust. Let's say, all right, we got all of the emotional response out. Like the great Taylor Swift said, shake it off, shake it off. We did that, and now we move on. So what do we do on a Tuesday on the Rob Brown Show? Now we look at it like football guys. Now we look at it like football dudes who know ball. Today is No Ball Tuesday. Today, we are going to talk about a lot of stuff.
It's what Tuesday? No
Ball Tuesday.
Okay.
Because, we know balls.
Okay, so it's not Eunuch Tuesday.
No. I mean, I guess we could say we're so knowledgeable and we love football. We're big football guys. So we could call it big. It's No Ball Tuesday. All right?
Yeah, other name was taken, apparently.
I'm tiptoeing on the edge of whether or not I could just lean into that and have a day with it. I'm tiptoeing right up on the edge because I feel like it would be hilarious. I don't know. I don't want Lonzo to pull his back muscle getting over the dump button 50 times in the show. You know what I mean? Like he's playing hurt this week. I don't want to add to the stress.
Yeah, I haven't stretched this morning. I definitely will pull something.
Yeah. So we're just going to say it's No Ball Tuesday. We got him and we know it's No Ball Tuesday. Can't wait. Let's have a day. If you did not stay up last night, and I know that none of you did, last night was the absolute reason. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. I moved here in 2020. Since I got here, I have fallen in love with the Blue Ridge Mountains. I have fallen in love with the Low Country. I have fallen in love with Asheville and Charlotte. I have fallen in love with Dahlonega, Georgia. I have fallen in love with the upstate of South Carolina. And I have fallen in love with the fact that I can drive 2 to 2.5 hours in any direction and be in a totally different world. I love everything about this place.
You fell in love with your wife.
Yeah, I'm getting to that. All right. I'm walking chronologically through the things I fell in love with.
Okay, all right.
Chronologically speaking, I fell in love with the people in this community. When I got here, I had about half of you that went, who's this new a-hole on the radio? This guy's obnoxious and I hate him.
I'm guessing that still happens daily when people
Regularly.
the show.
Regularly. But most of you, I think, have become accepting. Because I fell in love with this place and I love you guys. Aw. And then, as I fell in love with the place, I fell in love with the people. I fell in love with my wife. I fell in love with the local sports scene. I fell in love with the local teams. I fell in love with this place. There is, and I mean this, there is one drawback alone to the upstate of South Carolina. You know what it is?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's not you.
The trade happened, so I mean.
It's not you. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only drawback about living in the great state of South Carolina, Eastern time. It's the worst thing in the world. I mean, I'm sure there's worse things in the world. Like I could live in Europe and then that game would have ended at 10:30 in the morning. But Eastern time as an American sports fan is a curse. Eastern time sucks so much. I wish I wasn't a sports fan sometime. Like that's how bad it is. Like last night when this game ended at 11:50 Pacific Standard Time. That's 12:50 Mountain. 1:50 Central, 2:50 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And because a World Series game, which in fairness was 2 World Series games for the price of 1, 18 innings, I did not get to hear the greatest moment that baseball has given us so far this postseason.
The 2-1. Ball 3. If it goes to the 19, it'll go where no World Series game has ever gone. On a 3-1, Freeman takes strike 2. $11:50 in Los Angeles. Freeman sends a fly ball to center field. Varsho's going back before the clock strikes me. Freeman has ended it. It's a repeat hero with the last word on a Game 3 classic.
And for the next 90-ish plus seconds, it's that. I have said to you before, and I will say to you again, and I know that not just many of you, I would say that most of you will actively and viciously disagree with me on this. And that's okay. It is obviously subjective and up to each person's taste and vibes, bro. I don't think there's anything better than postseason baseball. I don't. I think postseason baseball is the best postseason. I understand that there are plenty of games in football that are absolutely electric, and we've gotten some classics. I understand that the NBA playoffs, college basketballs, Match Madness, I understand that all of it is great. I'm not saying there's a bad postseason out there. Hell, I've made the argument before that college baseball's World Series is the best postseason in American sports. And I'll stand on that. MLS has my favorite format in all of playoffs because you get a solid mix of one-offs and series to determine who the best team really is. Wild card games, one and done. You're in, you win the wild card, you move on. You lose the wild card, you're out. But then round 1 of the MLS playoffs, best of 3. Best of 3 stretches over a 2-week period. Yeah, it takes a long time to complete, but by the end of best of 3, you rest assured you got the best teams moving on. I think it's a great format. But at the end of the day, and I've said this before and I'll say it again and I'll stand on it, as far as game to game to game to game to game throughout the entire duration of the playoffs goes, I do not think that there is anything as good as baseball's postseason. I just don't, because you've got games like last night. But we've had a bunch of those. Now, none that have gone 18 innings. And again, we've had some 18-inning playoff games. Had that game gone one more, and Freddie Freeman not blasted that gigantic dong to center, we'd have had the longest World Series game in the history of the World Series. It's gone to 18 twice, including last night. But go back to the ALCS between Seattle and Toronto. We had 4 straight nail-biters in that game. Go back to the NLCS or the NLDS with Pittsburgh when they were in nail-biters. And it has been damn near every day for the past 3 weeks. We have had just nail-biter after nail-biter after nail-biter. And I don't think there is another sport that can not just raise the tension, but keeps the tension as elevated as it is, like a baseball game. There's a point in a football playoff game where the tension kicks in. But that's usually late in the game, right? Like, you don't really feel that. You get into the third quarter, you're down 2 touchdowns, so you're like, hey, man, 2 snaps of the football, we're right back in this thing. No problem. We're good. In baseball, somebody comes out and they put 4 on the board in the first inning. That tension is established now. And that tension stays there until the bottom of the 9th or bottom of the 18th, as was the case last night. I did not even get to end the game last night. I had to cut it off. Even Robbie B. Like, if I'd have slept well the night before, I might have stayed up. If I'd have known it was going 18 innings till 2:50 in the morning, I legitimately would have stayed up, finished the game, and I would have just taken a shower, got dressed, and come up here at 3:30 a.m. because that's about what it would have taken. Had I known it was going 18. But I'm like, it's 13. It's probably going to end 14, 15, 16. I'll watch it in the morning. And I went to bed. I wish I wouldn't have. I am now, and this is a hindsight being 2020. It is what it is. I wish I would have stayed up to watch that game. Would I have been tired this morning? Damn right, obviously. And I also would have said, guys, I'm exhausted. I need your help to carry the show. Absolutely worth it. Absolutely worth it, because there were 9 bonus innings of absolute gut wrench that got walked off by a kid at home that I love in Freddie Freeman. Baseball's the best, dude. Postseason baseball is the best postseason in American sports. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Let's have a day.
That world.
All right, good morning, everybody. Jimbo, Mikey, Joe, welcome in. Let me do this read. We'll come right back. Don't go anywhere. Billy, I didn't say this enough this week, so your phone calls and your texts are always welcome here on the show at 844-326-3663. That is the number to call in. That is the number to text in, 844-326-3663. Texter said, the Dodgers are like Thanos, inevitable. I kind of feel like they are. Now, that being said, great win in Game 1 for Toronto. A lot of chances for the Jays last night. Last night was really interesting for me because the margin of error between aggressiveness and stupidity is razor thin. And if you have the ability to recognize where that line is, you can run the world. The problem is that most people have a very difficult time seeing, recognizing, walking up to, but not crossing the razor thin line that is between aggressiveness and stupidity. If you can find that line and not cross it, you can run the world. Most people can't. That's just a reality. I do it all the time. There have been plenty of segments that I jump up and I'm like, all right, I'm going to be a little aggressive with my take here. And then after the show, I get told, hey, man, that was really dumb. All right, cool. I get it. Like, I tried. Okay. There's nothing bad in trying. As long as you recognize that if you try and if you are wrong, it can cost you. It can cost you a lot. It can cost you, depending on the severity of the stupidity and the context of the decision that you make that crosses from aggression into stupidity. It can cost you a couple bucks. It can cost you a few hours. It can cost you your job. It can cost you years of your life. And when I say that, the line between aggression and stupidity exists in every decision that you make. How many people have we seen over the years learn that because they want to send out a very aggressive tweet, but then it tiptoes over into stupidity and it cost them a job or a relationship or whatever. Like, it's a real life thing, which is why last night the Jays and the Dodgers put on an exhibition of how many times do you have to cross the line from aggression into stupidity? Like, I don't know. For instance, theoretically, hypothetically, let's say you're in the World Series. Let's say we're in the 12th inning of an overtime game. Let's say that you're in the 12th inning of a game where everybody's having to burn through pitchers. If the Dodgers would have gone one more inning, old Davo would have had to start starting pitchers onto the bump. You understand how insane it would have been? The thought was last night, and they said it in the broadcast. In fact, I think they said it in the clip I played on the way out. If the Dodgers go to 19, Yamamoto's going to have to go to the bump because they're just out of dudes. They've exhausted every arm. They're going to have to circle back around to the guy who started game 1 on Friday. And you know what that means? That means that depending on how long he's got to go in that game, that either A, you got to go to him, and then you might have to bring out Blake Snell. Sorry, Yamamoto started Saturday. Snell started Friday. You might have to bring out Blake Snell. You might have to start through your starting pitchers.
Oh, no. They're going to have to work twice in 1 week?
Yes.
Oh, no.
Yes. And you can say whatever you want, but statistically, the numbers are, if you run starting pitchers that rely on heat and power, if you start them more than X amount of times, their stuff falls apart. The human arm is not evolved to throw 100 miles an hour 80 times.
Doesn't that apply to both teams, though?
1,000%.
Have to do it, so there actually will be a lot of home runs, and a game may not take 18 innings.
The Jays were not there yet. They had a couple more arms in the pen. So there's a distinct advantage for Toronto to try to push that game a little bit further. But all of that being said.
Or you just put Shohei in there the rest of the way.
Can't. You got him starting tonight.
Yeah, but I mean, you can just let him play the rest of the way.
I mean, no, you can't because you got him starting tonight.
So
I need him tonight.
There's no way a pitcher could pitch 2 nights in a row.
No, you will ruin an arm.
Okay.
You will ruin an arm. This is going to be one of those spots that I'm going to say lovingly and respectfully. You're not a baseball guy. Dude, you will ruin an arm.
I completely understand. I'm just making fun of it because it sounds kind of lame.
Sure, it's the same people who make fun of the NBA load management. At the end of the day,
yeah, that's going to stop.
You can make fun of it. No, it's not.
Yeah, because now anytime there's load management, people are going to think, oh, there's a card game involved or there's gambling.
That's fair. That's fair. Okay, that's a fair point.
So I think that's going to go away for a while.
I thought you were going a different direction because I heard somebody say, well, Michael has now spoken out about load management negatively. No, I don't care about that. That's fair point.
It's about the gambling.
But here, as I pointed out before, there is an empirical, data-driven set of numbers that prove load management improves overall performance over the course of the season. It just makes you better longer.
Oh, trust me, I know if I went home right now and went to bed, I'm going to be better.
Absolutely.
Tomorrow.
Load management.
Yeah.
Right? And there is a line that you say at some point, while the emotional gut reaction is load management is bad, there's a point that the person who has to oversee long-term production goes, maybe it's worth it for me.
All right, now this may be heartless, but what do you care about a pitcher's arm if the World Series is on the line?
Well, here's the thing. You didn't win the World Series last night. Whoever won last night still has to win 2 more games.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Going forward, you're like, so why not throw caution to the wind and go, sorry, dude, you got to pitch again because we want to win the World Series.
Because it is shown that this will impact you not over the course of a week. It impacts you day to day, game to game. If you throw a guy who threw on Saturday, on Monday night, and you have to put him back out there for X amount of pitches, there is analytics that says his performance, his ability to throw strikes will dramatically decrease, which means that he's less likely to get you outs you need tonight. And there was a point in that game last night. It was after I went to bed, but there's a point in the game last night where you start to ask, do we put a position player out there and punt game 2? Do we just punt game 2 so that we have more arms or as many arms as possible in game 3 and try to get back to game 3? Do we punt? We've seen this happen in the NBA, right? You get in the third quarter, teams down 20 points, and they go, you know what? We're gonna rest the starters. We're gonna punt game 3, and we're gonna try to come out and win game 4 and tie this thing back up. Do you punt? Throw a position player out there? I don't know. That's part of what makes games like last night beautiful. That's a tough decision. Like, do you want to be a manager that sits there and goes, okay, but like we're out of bullpen guys. We got to start rotating our starting guys in, which impacts both the guys who have already thrown. We don't know if they're going to be able to throw game-winning stuff tonight, or if we throw guys that are slated for the next 4 games, if it's going to impact their ability to have good stuff in those games. Do we punt? I don't know. Like I don't envy the position that those two managers were in last night. But to circle back around to the start, 12th inning, Alejandro Kirk is the slowest man in Major League Baseball. That's not a take. That literally is. They measure these guys running the bases speed-wise over the course of the season. Average slowing speed, Alejandro Kirk, the catcher for the Jays, is the slowest man in baseball. And in the 12th inning of that game last night, long shot out to right field, bounces off the wall, and they send him from second to home. He gets thrown out by 6 feet. And I am, when I say literally cursing the television, I'm like, what are we doing? So bad that I'm now going to dive into the audio library to go find my Nick Saban clip because I got to have it for this moment. I am screaming at the TV, what the bleep are we doing in this spot? What are we doing? Because in that moment, in that spot, you absolutely took a risk in the name of aggression that I saw as he's rounding third, and I'm like, no! What are you doing? I sounded like freaking Michael Scott.
No, God, please, no.
What are we doing? He's the slowest guy in baseball. Don't send that guy. Keep him on at third. You have got heart of the order coming up, man. Like, if your heart of the order guys can't drive in a run from third, you're not going to win anyway. Keep him on third. Why would you send the guy? I know that you want to guarantee you go up a run, but sending him does not guarantee you go up a run. That was a decision made in the name of aggression that ended up being a decision that did not tiptoe the line into stupidity. It pole vaulted over it and into the next galaxy of stupidity over. But that's the thing. The Dodgers made these decisions too. And there's other spots. They sent earlier in the game to go up a run, the Jays did. They sent Vladdy from third. Vladdy's another dude. Like, Vladdy's got a dump truck. He ain't exactly a speedster. And they sent him at one point, and he had this like half slide, get up, tap the base in front of the catcher. It's this great moment. And when they went to send him, I'm like, no. But it worked out. But they tried it again later, and it bit him in the ass. And instead of the Jays going bottom 12 with a 1-run lead and all the pressures on the Dodgers come up with a run or drop game 2, instead, it just gave them the end of the inning. The line between aggression and stupidity is the exact same line that will 1,000% cost you World Series. And I'm not saying it did cost the Jays the World Series last night. It put them in a hole because there's 2 more games to go in LA, and LA just needs to win 2 more games. You're in a hole now because you crossed the line from aggression and stupidity, and that's a problem. All right, let's take a break. Back after this. Rob Brown, the Great Malonzo. We got a lot of football to get into here on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Jim, I will say that I felt that way about Central Time for a long time. When I kind of started coming on as my own as a sports fan, I was like 7 p.m. Now, in fairness, as a younger man, starting a game at 7 p.m. is not the worst thing in the world. Like, it's fine. It's going to be over between 11 and midnight most of the time. I'm good with 7 o'clock. In fact, even now, like in Eastern time. But a game that doesn't start till 8 and isn't going to be over till 11:30 midnight when I got to get up at 3:30 the next morning, that's tough, son. That's tough. Now, when I was working noon to 3 or when I was working 9 to noon, I didn't really care as much. Like, cool, I'll stay up till 1 o'clock. I don't have to be up till 7 o'clock. That's fine, whatever. Different world for me now. So, like, it just kind of is what it is for me. Last night was obviously the anomaly, going 2 full-length baseball games in one night. That's a tough spot to be in. Man, I don't like that one. That one can go. I do like that one. That one can stay. That one can stay.
Sometimes real life can get in the way of doing things that you want to do. Like, do you hear that chronic joint pain? Hey, it's Rob Brown, and that is why I am here to tell you about QC Kinetics. If you are dealing with chronic joint pain, maybe you are a weekend warrior. And
good morning, Cruz. Welcome in, brother. Good to have you, my guy. Welcome to the show. Jersey Joe, Big Mike. Good to have you guys as well, of course. Sorry, I have 3 times. I have 3 times set up my soundboard, then looked at it, and then turned around and went, no, actually, I hate it again, and deleted the whole thing. Because
find your favorite ones you're going to use the most, move them all the way to the right, and put them all the same color. I mean, you also have way too many rows and columns set up.
3, 6, 9, 12, 15 across. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. It's 15 by 15. But it's like I have some where it's like, all right, I have.
Make it a little bit smaller. The buttons get bigger, and that helps too.
Well, but they're filled, and it's like I have like 6 Charles Barkley clips. Ooh. I have 15 different clips that have the word hater in it. You know, you gotta have those sometimes. What is this one? I have some in here. I don't remember what they are. Oh yeah, right. That's a good one. Wait, what's the end of that clip? That's an all-timer. That's an all-timer. That's an all-timer too.
From the Eagles Mass Market Studio.
Some of these are good.
Buddy.
Lonzo's Kansas City Chiefs get a 28-7 win last night on Monday Night Football over the Washington Commanders. Marcus Mariota starting once again in place of the injured Jaden Daniels. I don't know that it would have mattered. The Chiefs are a wagon once again.
I don't know. The first half was really a struggle.
It was, but let's not pretend Marcus Mariota is playing good football.
Well,
early.
he absolutely
good
is. And Kansas City's having to adjust to a couple linemen being out. And that's been the demise of them a couple times in the Super Bowls when they have struggled with offensive linemen out.
Without a doubt.
But I think those guys actually gelled by the second half.
I agree. I also think there is some element of the Kansas City Chiefs are a team historically that, as Lonzo has pointed out a gazillion times, like they're in games when you like, if you're a Chiefs fan, for them to have put the games away. They're just in games, and they always find a way to win them. But like they're just in games longer than you'd like, even if it's against teams that you're like, there's no reason to be in a game with this team. And that's, I think, to some degree what happened last night.
Also, something that I don't know if it's going to be a strategy going forward, but it seemed to work yesterday is, letting everybody eat passing wise. And in the second half, especially in the fourth quarter, suddenly start to run the ball.
There's absolutely a part of it that came out of that. So the Chiefs were in this game for longer than you like. They did eventually second half start to kind of pull away from Washington. Defense started getting a little bit more aggressive. They started disrupting Marcus Mariota. Good first half for Mariota. Second half, it's like, okay, that's why he's the backup. Is that game different with a fully healthy Jaden Daniels? Yeah, probably. But I think most games are different with a fully healthy Jaden Daniels. Doesn't mean Washington would have won the game. I just think it would have been a game. Doesn't matter. They don't have him. Mariota's out there. Kansas City took some time, figured it out. Second story, obviously, out of that, Travis Kelce catches his 83rd touchdown pass as a Kansas City Chief, now tied with Priest Holmes for most touchdowns in Kansas City franchise history.
And I'm yelling, why'd you drop that ball?
Yeah.
He just did. I get it's not the record breaker, so I guess it's not as important. And I just saw earlier on SportsCenter, I think it was, that Patrick Mahomes went and found the ball and saved the ball.
I have no doubt that he did. Good move for him. Love that. Love it for Travis Kelce. Like, I have zero issues with Travis Kelce. Like Travis Kelce. Good for him. 83, tied with Priest Holmes for a franchise lead. None of that.
I don't know if you've noticed really quick something. Taylor's been at games like she was there last night.
Yeah, she's not on tour right now. She just dropped her album.
What I was going to say is they don't really show her that much.
I saw her a few times last night.
Yeah.
Saw her a few times last night.
I did. I don't recall seeing her that much.
That being said, what I largely took away from that game last night for Kansas City had nothing to do with Kansas City or everything to do with Kansas City, depending on how you viewed it. It was either late third, early fourth, that I will keep it a buck. I was watching baseball. I had the Monday Night Football game on the baby screen off to the side. It's the World Series. I had the World Series on the big screen. And there was a point as I was scrolling around social media where I saw a lot of folks saying, there's the Mahomes call. There's the call that Mahomes gets that nobody else gets.
Is this for the roughing the passer?
This was for the roughing the passer.
I mean, he heard the whistle blew, and then
I want to set it up.
Okay.
I want to set it up because I'm absolutely going to defend this. I'm going to defend. I'm on your side on this one. You get into the game. Washington's got Kansas City on their own end of the field. We are getting into crunch time. If there is a comeback to be had, Washington's up against the wall. Like, they've got to get a stop. They've got to get the ball. They've got to score if they want any chance to get back into this game. Patrick Mahomes takes a snap out of the shotgun, drops back. The offensive line for Kansas City blows in assignment. The defensive tackle, and off the top of my head now, I wrote it down, but I'm forgetting who it was. Anyway, defensive tackle blows through the line, gets to Mahomes, wraps Mahomes up, is carrying Mahomes backwards to the goal line, and this is where the controversy kicks in. I will not say my perspective on the timing of these events. I will just say the things that happened. The whistle blew. The defensive lineman who has Patrick Mahomes fully wrapped up like a loving embrace of a returning family member coming off the airplane, spins and releases Mahomes. Mahomes goes to the turf. The ref gets to the end zone and has a little hop skip as he throws the flag way up high in the air. Now, here's what I saw. What I saw on social media was a million people, including some people that are members of the Odyssey Sports Fan broadcasting club, different thing. And I saw a lot of them saying, there's the call that only Mahomes gets. And I will be honest, I didn't see it. So I took my attention away from the World Series. I flipped over to the baby TV. I grabbed the remote. I backed it up until I went and I saw the play. And I am going to tell you, it was a good call. It was a good call. Because one of the things that I do, as I did with, and we're going to talk about this again later on in the show, with the tush-push fumble that was then called dead, even though the Giants clearly got the fumble and recovered the football, I went back and I quite literally clipped it and I put it into my computer just so I could see exactly where the whistle got blown. And the whistle got blown when Mahomes was wrapped up in the arms of the defender around the 5-yard line, the 4 or 5 yard line. And by the time that Mahomes was released from the loving embrace of a 350-pound man, they were at the 1 yard line. There was about 4 yard lines of, and this is not a sprint. This is a D-line carrying a grown-ass man in the air to that spot. There's about a 4-yard travel distance between whistle and release. And the argument that I heard out of some people, including Sean Marash, who is a dear friend of mine. He's a host on WFAN in New York City. Love the guy. I've done multiple shows with Sean. He's a great dude, good football brain. He was like, Mahomes threw himself to the ground. He threw himself to the ground to get that call.
Tell me he didn't do that.
That was the take he had on Twitter.
Wow.
And so I went back and I watched it a number of times, and I said, I cannot say with any definition that he didn't, just like you can say with any definition that he can. What I do know is in a world where we have rules that protect the quarterback, if you hear a whistle and then proceed to pirouette while carrying a grown man and release him, at the end of the day, this is how physics works. If you are spinning from here to here, there is momentum involved in that. And if you release someone that does not have any other force acting on them, friction from the ground being the primary one, then the momentum is going to continue. It is called the law of conservation of angular momentum. It is a physics 101 deal. So if Mahomes is being carried in the air and a grown man is spinning with him and then releases Mahomes and he has no contact with the ground, his angular momentum is conserved that way. And he's moving that way at the speed that a 350-pound man was carrying him. He's going to fall. That's just kind of a deal. This is a spot where, and I have absolutely been willing to draw the ire of the great one when deserved to say, that's a bad call and the Chiefs got the benefit of it. That was not a pro Mahomes call. I don't care if that was Jaden Daniels, Patrick Mahomes, Kirk Cousins, anybody in the league. If a 350-pound man is carrying a quarterback, the whistle blows, you then proceed to carry him 3 to 5 more yards and then release him mid-dance spin, you're going to get called for that.
All right. It's
obvious.
Watching with my wife, I'm like, oh, great. The idiot lemmings are going to be like, did you see? Yeah, you guys are all stupid. It actually does make my blood pressure go up a little bit.
We can't tell
about how dumb that is. I mean, come on. If you believe that way, you are not a smart person.
Listen,
male, female, whatever you call yourself, you're not a smart person. I don't know how you can get smart. You are a follower. You are not a smart person. You need to either find some self-help or something. There's a 12-step out there somewhere.
I do believe,
because all you idiots were silent when the Chiefs lost. Didn't see it all when you thought, oh, it's over. Finally, it's over. They're done.
Do you recognize that?
This is invoking emotional response, and I am not well, so it's probably compounding because of it. But,
I appreciate you saying that.
But it's really bothering me to the point where I used to just ignore it, and now I can't.
So the thought behind this is, was, and is
and
going
if you're
to be,
offended, good.
the thought behind this is, was, and is going to be that if you believe that someone is cheating, if you believe someone has an advantage coming their way and then they lose, the advantage in the cheating doesn't matter. If Patrick Reed goes out there on the PGA Tour, and I'm acknowledging this because he's kind of a known guy that kind of tiptoes and sometimes crosses the rules in golf. If Patrick Reed goes out there and he cheats and he wins the golf course, we're going to be furious. If he goes out there and he cheats and he checks in 37th on the tour, nobody's going to care. So the thought here is, the reason it's kicking in now is the Kansas City Chiefs are now on a heater. And as I said yesterday, I thought that last night we would find out against a team missing their starting quarterback in Jaden Daniels, but against a team that has got a competent backup, I would even say good backup in Marcus Mariota. The Chiefs had an opportunity to string together their third win in a row. They had an opportunity to string together their fifth win in 6 games, with their only loss being a field goal loss to a pretty good Jaguars team on the road. Like, the team's back on a heater. And considering there have been years gone by where, as we have talked about, your left tackle has gotten away with more false starts over the past 3 years than I have speeding on the interstate.
Right tackle.
Sorry, whatever tackle, both tackles, all the tackles.
Yeah.
That is inarguably a reality about your football team. It might be the only one, but it is true.
Well, I don't know if they're ignoring him or not, but he didn't get called at all last night.
I agree with you.
I mean,
and that is part of the argument.
Maybe he finally learned his lesson.
No, I was watching the game. No, he didn't. But at the same time, there is some element of, and this is the number uno reason that Rob Brown is pro robo-ump anywhere and everywhere that robo-umps can be applicable. Anywhere that it is not a subjective call, it is an objective reality. It either happened or it didn't. Ball, strike, safe, out, whatever. Anywhere that there is an objective reality, it is either A or it is B. There is no gray area. It's either black or white, left or right, up or down, A or B. I want robo-umps. The reason why is no matter how hard you try, I come in here every day, and I've been arguing to y'all since I got here 5 years ago. I don't have a side when I'm behind the mic. I don't. I will be as neutral, as down the middle as I can. But I know many of you have pointed out that there have been times where I've probably gone a little harder in the paint on some teams, the Atlanta Falcons, in spots that I have on other teams. And that's just, my bias is going to shine through no matter how hard you try to stop it from happening. And I think that is true about every human being who is a human being. There is going to be, in any subjective call, subjective decision, there's always going to be some element of human bias that's going to show through. That's why I am pro robo-ump, because if the referees watch a left tackle for any team, false start, false start, false start, false start, false start, at some point that referee is going to say, I can't call it every play. We have heard professional referees say this. I can't call it every play. It doesn't matter. Can't do it every play. At some point, there is a line where you go, all right, as long as it's not egregious, I'm going to let it go. And the belief is that that's a line that the Chiefs got to a year and a half ago, that they're just allowed to false start. It is a line that the belief is the Philadelphia Eagles are at with the tush push. Like, you're going to call a false start every time that they tush push? For me, the answer is, if they false start, yes. But the refs are, I believe, looking at this and maybe even told to some degree, man, if it's like a bang, bang, false start, don't call it, because you're going to bog the hell out of the game. And again, I promise you, the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, the MLS, all of them, they care more about making sure that their television schedule is followed than they care about us going, dude, this game is bogged down. They're going to care more about that. So I think that is a part of the reality of what has happened here. Do I think that call of roughing the passer was wrong? I absolutely do not. Because especially with Patrick Mahomes, but with any quarterback in the league, you've got to know, but especially with Mahomes, but with anybody, if you pick up a quarterback and you throw them to the ground, that's going to be a call whether the whistle could have blown, the whistle could have not blown yet. If you are holding a quarterback, there is no escape, and you throw him to the ground, they're going to call that. That wasn't a give Mahomes a flag moment. That was any quarterback that you throw violently to the ground, you are getting a call. That is just an objective reality about the NFL. All right, let's take a break. When we come back here, we got your water cooler cheat sheet. I got a bunch of audio clips I'm going to play for you later on in the show. What went wrong for the Gamecocks in the fourth quarter? I got a couple of thoughts for you that cost them the Alabama game. And my next question is, was that actually progress, or was that the exception to the rule? Was that an anomaly, or can we expect that out of the Gamecocks, which I think means maybe there's a win to be stolen somewhere down the line. We'll get to that and more, all of that coming up after the Patrick Mahomes of sports flashes, Lonzo.
Yeah, don't put that kind of pressure on me. It took 2 full baseball games to find the winner of Game 3. But the Dodgers used a Freddie Freeman walk-off homer in the bottom of the 18th inning to take a 6-5 win over Toronto and a 2-1 World Series lead. LA used 10 pitchers and Toronto used 9 to get to the finish line with a total of 31 combined hits between the two teams. Game 4 is tonight at 8 p.m. Kansas City Chiefs wrapped up the NFL weekend with a 28-7 win over the Commanders. Patrick Mahomes went 3 for 299 yards and 3 touchdowns. Bo was picked off twice. Travis Kelce had a throwback night with 99 receiving yards and his 83rd career touchdown, tying him with Priest Holmes for the most in franchise history. And Charlotte FC will begin their march through the MLS playoffs tonight with a first-round matchup against New York City FC in North Carolina. The team split the regular season games 1-1 this year, each with a 2-0 win. We'll be back if I don't die.
Crap. 0 for 1. Noted Eagles fan Jim said, false start on the tush push. Quote, this is why I'm not commenting when the entire line moves before the ball leaves the ground. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it is, I think it is less, and this is for the Chiefs, and it's for the Eagles, who are the other, according to the public, primary beneficiaries of this reality. I think it is largely this lack of calls, especially the ones that are common. It is hits on Mahomes, and I do think there have been a few, not a ton, not as many as some of you make it out to be, but I do think there have been some hits on Mahomes that likely would not draw a flag if they were on other quarterbacks around the NFL. I think that, again, the Chiefs have been the biggest perpetrators of false starts, and that includes the Eagles over the past few years. But I think the Eagles right now, with the tush push, it has become so obvious, scratch that, it has become so common that they false start on that play that referees are like, what are we going to do? Are we just going to call a false start every time that they do the tush push? And the answer for me is, well, yeah, if they're false starting, right? Like, and this is, maybe it's just me, I'm a stickler for the rules. And maybe it's because I have a 2019 NFC Championship game hangover, or maybe it's just because if the rules of a game are not enforced, what the hell's the point of the game, right? If the rules are selectively enforced, or maybe worse, subjectively enforced in some spots and not in others, then what is the point of playing the game? There's no integrity to that game. It's kind of like that old example of when you play basketball out there in the front yard with the nephew, and every time you score, they make up a new rule. No, Uncle Rob, you can't do that. You're taller than me, so you can't shoot a layup. And then I shoot one from the free throw line. No, Rob, Uncle Rob, you can't do that. You can't shoot when I'm not facing you. Like, there's always a new rule so that the kid can win. At that point, you go, dog, I'm about to dunk on my 8-year-old nephew, if that's what I got to do. Because what's the point of doing anything else if I'm going to L because rules are so subjective in this game? At least I'm going to embarrass them a little bit in the process. I think that's kind of the argument, kind of the discussion as far as I'm concerned. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are rocking and rolling on a No Ball Tuesday. That would be no with a K and a W on both sides of it. A No Ball Tuesday, where we are talking all the things that went down last night in the World Series. By the way, did you know last night, I did not even think about this until I got deep into the evening when I came to the realization, man, there's a lot of sports on TV right now. In fact, all 4 major leagues were in action last night. In fact, last night was the 32nd Sports Equinox, where we had all 4 leagues in action on one night. In fact, I went and I pulled up some stats about this because I was curious. I got into this thought at like midnight last night because after the Monday Night Football game went off the air, I flipped over the baby screen. I flipped over, watched some late night left coast hockey, as I was also watching 2 baseball games and 1 baseball game. Last night was the 32nd Sports Equinox in the last 54 years since the first Sports Equinox, which took place on Sunday, October 17th of 1941. In that game, or in that night, we had World Series Game 1, we had 12 NFL games, we had NBA opening night, and we had 6 NHL games all happening at the same time. The Super Equinox has happened 1 time. In fact, not only did it happen 1 time, but I was on the air here and we celebrated it. Now, not me and Lonzo, because I was still working with Diesel in the noon slot at the time, but it was all the way back in 2020, September 10th of 2020. In that night, we had all 4 major leagues, leagues, not just Major League Baseball, but all 4 major sports leagues in action, plus the MLS was playing playoff games, the WNBA was playing its championship still, and the U.S. Open was happening at that spot. The sports equinox is more rare than a no-hitter. It is more rare than a natural hat trick. It is more rare than a PGA Tour hole-in-one. It is statistically more rare than an NBA 50-point game, which we've had, I believe, 2 so far this, or just 1. I think also Reese have 1. I thought somebody else had 1. Doesn't matter. It's more rare than that. Because as long as we have 1 more 50-point game this year, and we are 3 games deep into the regular season, that'll be 2 in 1 year. We get a sports equinox about once every year and a half or so. And according to a survey, the sports equinox impacts 86% of Americans. A national survey found that 86% of Americans claim fandom of at least one team in the 4 major leagues. 75% of Americans claim fandom of at least one team in multiple major leagues. And 50% of Americans claim fandom of at least one team in all 4 major leagues. Doesn't mean that they watch as much of one as the other. But if you're a guy in Pennsylvania, you may be a Pelicans, a Penguins fan. That's a different team. You may be a Penguins fan, a Steelers fan, a Pirates fan, and what sport am I missing now? Oh, 76ers fan, Philadelphia. So about 50% of Americans are fans of a team in all 4 leagues. 75+% of Americans are a fan of multiple teams in at least 2 of the major leagues. And 86% of Americans follow at least one team in a major league, meaning that last night's sports equinox, the 32nd in 54 years, would have been paid attention to by at least 86% of Americans. This is why I've said one of the reasons that I love sports, and I mean this, one of the reasons that I love sports is it is one of the few places where you can walk into any restaurant, any bar, any nightclub, any establishment, and there's a very good chance that 4 out of every 5 people in there at least can talk a sport with you. 4 out of 5 people will at least have one thing in common, which is a love of sports. Do you think that there is anything else right now in America that 4 out of 5 people have at least one thing in common? Because I got to tell you, I thought about this last night. I'm like, is there anything that 4 out of every 5 Americans have in common? I don't think there is.
To talk about?
Yeah.
Sex.
No, I'm talking. Okay, fair enough. You know what? I got to tell you, I got a lot of my buddies that are probably hurting on that front right now. I'm gonna say solid, maybe. I'm gonna say that's the best guess.
Yeah, but they'll
say the best guess.
Still talk about it though.
That's true. That is okay. That's fair. That's fair. So two things. Sports and relations. Not relationships. Relations. Wink, wink. Nudge, nudge. You get it. Hey, it's 7:08 in the morning. You've got less than 52 minutes till you have got to work. We have less than 7 minutes to tell you about the 3 most important things that are happening right now in the world of sports. The 3 most important things you're going to talk about when you get to the office. The 3 most important things are all contained in this.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworkers saying,
"That doesn't work for me, brother."
Even before they take their first bathroom break.
No.
Here we go. Welcome to the water cooler cheat sheet on the Fan Upstate.
Tis indeed the water cooler cheat sheets, the top 3 sports stories you need to know before you get to the office this morning and start talking sports with your IT guy, your janitor, your coworkers, your supervisor, your manager, your boss, whoever it is that says, hey, what do you say? We blow off our responsibilities of life in general and just do whatever the hell we want to do. This is what you're going to be talking about. Let's jump in. Item number 1. 2 games last night in the professional sporting world. The first was a Monday night football game where the Kansas City Chiefs ended up 28-7 winners over the Washington Commanders. The Commanders did not have starting quarterback Jaden Daniels, missing another game with a hamstring injury. The Commanders optimistic he will return next week in a season where I genuinely thought the Commanders might very well compete for an NFC Eastern Division title. Instead, they find themselves at 3-5 with 3 consecutive losses to the Chicago Bears, the Dallas Cowboys, and the Kansas City Chiefs, largely because Jaden Daniels has been unavailable. Marcus Mariota was respectable last night for the Commanders, 21 of 30 for 213 and a touchdown, but he was picked twice in this game, which may or may not have been the difference. It at least contributed to it. The other big part that contributed, just 60 total rushing yards last night for the Washington Commanders. And more importantly than that, 28 of those belong to Marcus Mariota, the leading rusher for the Commanders. The Kansas City rush defense, 'twas no joke yesterday evening. Neither was the offense overall for Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes, 25 of 34, 299 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. He was intercepted twice in the game, though they did not have huge consequence in it. Isaiah Pacheco, leading rusher for the Chiefs, 58 yards on 12 carries. Kareem Hunt had 9 for 40. He did score the lone rushing touchdown for Kansas City last night, but it was Travis Kelce having a vintage throwback style night for the big tight end. 6 grabs, 99 yards, and a touchdown through the air. It was the 83rd career touchdown as a Kansas City Chief for Travis Kelce, now tied with Priest Holmes for the most touchdowns in franchise history, likely at some point this year to become the Chiefs' all-time leading touchdown scorer. Rashee Rice making his return, 9 snags, 93 yards, and a touchdown, as well as hitting a dude in the helmet with the football and getting a taunting flag. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I watched it. I saw the secondary angle. I really don't think it was on purpose. And I'm down to clown on Rashee Rice because I thought those inspirational workout videos were like the dumbest thing an NFL player's done this year. Like, my guy, you almost killed some people and you got suspended. Let's not pretend that, like, American children should be looking at you like a hero. That's real dumb. Just shut up and come back and play football. However, when he threw the helmet that hit, or threw a football that hit a Commander's player in the helmet, I really do think he was trying to get the ball to the referee that was on the other side, and it just blew it.
I think it was taunting.
I mean, maybe it was. He got the 15-yarder.
I'm pretty sure there were words also in there.
Maybe so.
Either
way, got the 15-yarder. Best part of the night was him going over to try to explain it to Andy Reid, and Andy Reid wanted no part of it. He wanted no part of it.
Yeah, but he took him out and he put him right back in.
He sure did.
So what was the punishment?
Hey, buddy, you got a 1-play suspension.
Oh, no, it was delayed. The play.
Oh, was he in on the next play?
He was in on the.
Oh,
yeah,
beautiful.
Yeah.
Even better. All right, and in the other professional game that went final last night, the LA Dodgers now lead the World Series 2-1 after an 18-inning game. That is, if you're good at math, baseball games are 9 innings. This went 18 innings. That was 2 baseball games for the price of 1 that you got to watch last night, or more accurately, that you got to watch most of and then you went to bed and you woke up this morning. Had Robbie B stayed up to watch this entire baseball game and went to bed at its conclusion, I would have been asleep for approximately 1 hour before I got up. I might as well have stayed up and finished the damn game. Had I known it was going 18 and Freddie Freeman was going to walk it off in the bottom of the 18th, I absolutely would have.
Apparently, the MLB doesn't care about the safety of the players because they're
somebody's got to win, dog.
I guess.
Somebody's got to win. It's the World Series. Somebody's got to win the damn thing. Like, if you are a no ties guy, you got to love baseball. Baseball will not have a tie. There are no ties in baseball.
After 14 innings, it should go to a home run derby.
You know what? There is actually a lot of people who have proposed that this year. That you pick a spot somewhere. Maybe you do like 2, 3, 4, 5 innings of extra innings baseball. And if you're still there, let's do a home run. They did that at the All-Star game this year, remember? And it was absolutely electric. Now, granted, it's the All-Star game and it's the All-Stars.
Yeah, from last hour, you're talking about saving pitchers. That's saving pitchers.
I mean, that's how you do it. At the same time, I got to tell you, like, as good as the Jays are, and they got some dong hitters like Vladdy Guerrero and Bo Bichette. Look at the Dodgers lineup. They're 1 through 9 guys that can go. Yeah, that's, I don't know.
Is that an excusable absence the next day? Sorry, boss. I mean, you know.
I hope not, because game 4 is tonight at 8:00. Like, if you're excused absence today, you're just not playing in World Series game number 4.
No,
especially when you're up 2-1.
About people who were at the game.
Oh,
about going to work.
That's a good question.
Later that day.
Do you think I could have gotten away with a 2:50 a.m. text message to the boss going, "Hey man, need a sick day because the MLB World Series Game 3 just ended. It is almost 3:00 in the bleeping morning."
Then he would have texted back, "DVR, see you in the morning."
Yeah, that's exactly right. Dodgers get the 6-5 win. They are up now 2-1 in the World Series. Couple of notes out of this one. Shohei Ohtani, 4 hits last night, had a pair of doubles and a pair of dongs. He is the first player in MLB history to have 4 extra base hits in a World Series game. At this point, between that and also becoming the first pitcher to have, or the first player to have 10 strikeouts and a home run in a playoff game, Shohei Ohtani's biography is going to be called The First Player to Do Everything, the Shohei Ohtani story. The guy is, stop texting me, the greatest baseball player of all time. That's not a question mark anymore. That is a statement of fact. I don't want to hear a word about Babe Ruth throwing down heaters and eating hot dogs. Shohei Ohtani is the greatest to ever do it. And I am even talking relative to the league he does it in. Mookie Betts had 8 at-bats last night. That's how long this game went on. He went to the dish 8 times. It was ridiculous. The Dodgers ended up using 10 pitchers in this contest. The Jays ended up using 9 before Freddie Freeman walked it off, bottom 18. I wish this game started at 4 o'clock so I could have watched it till friggin' midnight. But it started at 8 o'clock and went till 2:50 a.m. Woof. We'll talk more about this later on because the World Series is happening. But we got to get to item number 2. 2 NCAA stories that I'm going to wrap up into item number 2 very quickly. Number 1, the NCAA has lost another lawsuit. They are an impressive 0 for, I think, all of them at this point. Gonzaga forward Tyon Grant Foster has been granted a preliminary injunction by a Spokane County judge, allowing him to play for the Gonzaga Bulldogs this season. The NCAA had denied Grant Foster's appeal for an eligibility waiver earlier this month, much like Rasul faced on at South Carolina. Because of some time at a lower level and then moving up, Grant Foster believed that his waiver, the waiver that was issued from the NCAA, because there's a lawsuit about whether junior college should count towards NCAA eligibility. Because that is all up in the air, the NCAA issued a blanket waiver to all JUCO players over the past couple of years to restore their full 4 years of eligibility. But they issued that blanket after Grant Foster came out of JUCO. So the attorneys took the NCAA to court and said, wait a minute. If you're giving it to them, there's no reason not to backtrack it 1 year and give it to our guy who still would have 1 more year of eligibility. Grant Foster initially played at Indian Hills Community College, transferred to Kansas, played 22 games for the Jayhawks in 2020-21. Then he transferred to DePaul. In the very first game of the 2021-22 season for the DePaul Blue Demons, Grant Foster collapsed in the locker room, was rushed to the hospital, underwent multiple heart surgeries, missed 16 months of basketball. He returned to the court at Grand Canyon for the 23-24 season. That was the year that they went on that NCAA tournament run and had the win over St. Mary's. He was a big part of that. Then he transferred again to Gonzaga. And now he's arguing I should get 1 more year of eligibility because that blanket JUCO transfer waiver. The NCAA initially said no. Now a county judge has said, no, actually, it should be that way, meaning he is now eligible. The NCAA does have the right to appeal that decision. We will see if they do. And what happens, Gonzaga opens their season in just a few days against Texas Southern, November 3rd. Over in the other NCAA story, Michigan and Wolverines head football coach Sharon Moore have withdrawn their appeals in the NCAA infractions case that centered on advanced scouting. The NCAA Committee on Infractions. Why did I say NCAA? The NCAA Committee on Infractions announced in August that Michigan had committed multiple level 1 violations. They fined Michigan what might be a total of as much as $30 million, depending on how it works out. Sharon Moore was, of course, hit with a 3-game suspension. He has already served that suspension. Sharon Moore was also levied with a 2-year show cause order, which, of course, if Michigan was to let him go, would make it very difficult for him to get another job down the line. Now Michigan's head coach, and he was the offensive coordinator at the time. Michigan released a press conference last night that said, quote, after careful consideration of the prolonged impact of an appeal on Michigan and our student athletes, we have withdrawn our appeal of the NCAA's infractions decision and penalties. Both the school and the coach initially vowed to appeal the penalties. They have now walked back that decision. We will talk more about that later on in the radio broadcast. Now let's finally get to item number 3. I've gone back and forth around on this, but I do think this story is interesting enough that I'm going to give you the headline very quickly now, and then we are going to circle back around to talk about this in the very next segment. There was a report last night out of WDSU, which is a news station down in New Orleans, Louisiana, broadcast in Southeast Louisiana. Multiple sources confirmed, according to WDSU, that the Lions' share of Brian Kelly's $54 million buyout will be paid by 1 donor. Listen, I'm going to talk about what this means for college finances and head coaches and all that, because I do think there's another layer to this, which is the bidding war that is going to be happening with Lane Kiffin coming up very soon here. Here's the question that I have. Mentally, how do you react if you find out that somebody hates your ass enough that they will come off of $50 million for you not to have a job anymore? Like that's a level of hate that I find commendable. If you hate somebody, you're like, yeah, $50 million to get his ass up out of here. That's impressive. Not just $50 million. He's going to give you $50 million so he doesn't have to look at your face anymore. Nice job, Brian Kelly.
I don't know. That would narrow things down a little, because someone being able to give up 50 and it not hurt them.
I mean, yeah. Like if you're coming off $50 million, but I got to tell you, even if you have $1 billion, giving somebody $50 million to not be in my face anymore, you don't like that guy.
Well, absolutely.
That's incredible.
Yeah, you're right.
That's incredible. Hey, Brian Kelly, get up on out of town, son.
You also really love your school.
I guess so. We're going to talk about that because I want to put that in contrast and comparison to what's happening with Lane Kiffin right now. Because I got to tell you, I thought about this a lot yesterday after we had the conversation. Y'all, I think there's about to be a bidding war around Lane Kiffin. I think there's about 4 schools involved in it. And I think it is going to make hiring college football coaches really, really difficult for everybody who is not the top dogs. We'll talk about that next. Rob Brown, the Great Malonzo, and you. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, stay right there. I have got to upload some audio very quickly. Before I do, sorry. Because you asked, Jacob, what is a natural hat trick? A natural hat trick is when a player scores 3 consecutive goals that are uninterrupted by any other player scoring a goal. So you score 3 goals in a game, and it's soccer and hockey. You score 3 goals in a game, and no other player on either team scores a goal between your first and second and your second and third goals. It is exceptionally and exceedingly rare that happens. In fact, I don't even remember. Let's see. Well, let's see if I can find out. When was the last natural hat trick in the NHL? I don't remember the last one happening. Apparently one happened this year. Logan Cooley of the Utah Mammoth did it on October 23rd, 5 days ago. And I guess I'm a crappy hockey fan. Stay right there, guys. Be right back. is the number if you'd like to be a part of the show this AM. You can text that number. You can call that number. So, WDSU is a news station out of southeastern Louisiana. It is a respectable news station. This is not a made up on the fly bunch of nobodies little, backwoods station. This is out of southeast Louisiana. So there is a report from WDSU claiming that the majority of Brian Kelly's buyout at LSU, which is $54 million, the majority of that buyout, according to WDSU, will be paid by one private donor. That means one donor is coming off, I would assume, $40+ million of their own money to get Brian Kelly up out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Remember, there was a rumor going around. We talked about this yesterday. There was a rumor going around that members of the LSU athletic department, during LSU's loss to Texas A&M at home on Saturday evening, by the way, they don't like losing at night in Death Valley. There was a rumor that some members of the athletic department were going around private boxes in the stadium and asking people, would you be willing to donate a little more cash money to pay Brian Kelly's buyout to get him out of here? And while there is no answer about how many people said yes, as somebody who grew up around LSU, because most of my family, bright enough to go to college, went to it, and the rest were fans anyway, they're very serious about their football. This is why I said yesterday, the downfall of Brian Kelly is not going to be losing games. I mean, that is the trigger. But the downfall of Brian Kelly is the fact that he was able to successfully destroy what was a really good culture, unique, but really good culture around that program, to the point that, much like happens at Clemson, where you can go to any given Saturday on Clemson and any Clemson NFL player that's on the bye week is there. Like, they're just there. They're just there being around the program. LSU was always the same way, and this year they're not. The last couple of years, there's no alumni that are showing up at LSU games because Brian Kelly doesn't want them there. He successfully blew up the culture in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. The reality for me was the fact that Brian Kelly, in a state that I think is unlike, I'll say most, maybe not all, but most other states. In Louisiana, LSU is the it is the school. It is the college. There is no bleed over. Like, you go talk to the high schoolers around Louisiana, they all want to be Tigers, man. That's just how it goes. So LSU has always had an innate ability, not just to get big names because they're LSU, but to also have as deep of a roster with those 2- and 3-star guys that you need to fill in the holes as anybody else anywhere, because everybody in the state wants to play there and would be willing to go play there and not play, then go out of state and play for a smaller school somewhere else. And Brian Kelly blew that up. And I think that's ultimately what did him in. Now, the reason that this is interesting to me is I've had the discussion that when you were looking at LSU paying a $54 million buyout to Brian Kelly, when you were looking at Penn State paying a $46 million buyout to James Franklin, when you look at Florida State, who I genuinely believe would love to rid themselves of Mike Norvell, but can't because they can't find the $56 million that they would need to pay his buyout. At some point, I think that schools are going to want to start increasing annual salary, but decreasing buyouts. Hey, instead of giving you $13 million a year with a $60 million buyout that decreases by $5 million every year, we would like to give you $22 million annually, but a $10 million buyout if we decide to jettison you at any case. And I do think that there's probably a compromise somewhere down the line of fine, but you are going to offer me a longer-term contract. Now it's going to be you're going to give me a 10-year contract with 5 of those years fully guaranteed, much like an NFL contract.
I'm going to say, why don't they do what players do and have incentives in there? So,
I suspect that, well, they do. Like, contracts already do. Like,
but make that be more of the contract now, So you don't have to do that payout.
I suspect that will be there. I also suspect, like I said, it'll be longer contracts. I also suspect that it'll be higher annual salaries, but those salaries will be fully guaranteed for X amount of years, right? We're going to give you $20 million instead of the 11 to 12 that are out there right now. And by the way, part of the reason I bring this up is I think we're about to have a bidding war for Lane Kiffin, because I know now, via some conversations with some friends of mine that cover the LSU Tiger football program down in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I know that, much like Florida, Lane Kiffin is currently LSU's numero uno target. And Lane Kiffin is a dude that LSU will likely take the mindset of, we're going to make you say no to us. We're going to put a number on the table that is so ridiculous, you will have to declare no. I do not want that. Like, clear and away, because it is better than everybody else. We are going to make you do that. Florida, before all of this, before Brian Kelly got fired, it was reported last week that the University of Florida was ready to offer Lane Kiffin a deal worth an annual $13.5 million annually, making him the highest paid coach in college football. The belief now is that LSU will go higher than that. We'll go like $14, $15 million annually. We're going to make you say no to us to say yes to Florida. And now the rumors that Penn State would like in on the Lane Kiffin sweepstakes as well. The Lane Kiffin sweepstakes with Penn State involved, especially if the rumors are true. And again, I am leaning towards they are. The Lane Kiffin sweepstakes, if Penn State is involved, and if LSU has a private donor paying off the majority of Brian Kelly's buyout, Florida's buyout of Billy Napier is only $22 million, only $22 million. And if indeed, and like I said, if the rumors are true, and I believe they are, Adidas is stepping in to pay the majority of James Franklin's buyout, then the Lane Kiffin bidding wars are going to result in Lane Kiffin becoming the highest paid NCAA football coach.
You have to accept the highest bid, don't you? Because if you don't, then you're never going to get that money again.
Yes and or no, because the thought here would be, for instance, a lot of it is going to be about if you're Lane Kiffin, I assume. And Lane Kiffin told Pat McAfee either yesterday or the day before, it's not about the money. I've never made a decision based on money. And to be honest with you, I don't not believe him. I don't think he left Tennessee to go to USC for money. I don't think he left college football to go to the Raiders for money. I think he did it because he maybe wasn't in a great spot and he felt like, this is something I really wanted to do. He wanted to be the head coach at USC. That was never a secret. He wanted to coach in the NFL. That was never a secret. And I think he just gave it a run. It didn't work out. He said, I've never been about money. Now, I will also say it is exhausting. Like, it is exhausting to hear people about to sign a $14.5 plus million a year check say money can't buy happiness. Shut up. Shut up. It can't. But you know what can buy happiness? Not having to worry about the cost of a gallon of milk because I got to stretch my dollar, right? Like, shut up. I don't want to hear it. But whatever. I'm Team Lane Kiffin on this. So here's what I'm really interested in. If Adidas is indeed paying James Franklin's buyout, if one private donor is indeed paying the lion's share of Brian Kelly's buyout, and with Billy Napier only having $22 million of buyout, you are talking about Florida, LSU, and Penn State. These are three of the most resource-laden programs in college football. These three schools, I would say all three of them are likely inside of the top 5 richest college football programs, most resource-laden college football programs of all time. And if that is the case, what does the contract look like for Lane Kiffin? Does it go from 13.5 to we'll give you $22 million a year annually, but we're only going to give you a $15 million buyout? We'll give you 22, but it's going to be a 10-year contract and 5 are fully guaranteed. I got to tell you, I think we are about to see a dramatic change in the way that head coaching contracts are structured. And on top of that, what happens for the 2 of those 3 schools that don't get Lane Kiffin? Where do they go? What's next? If 20 plus million a year for 10, 5 fully guaranteed, is that enough to bring Nick Saban out of retirement? Is that enough to bring a name we haven't even talked about, Urban Meyer, out of retirement? And if so, where do they end up? And if so, What does that do for the next crop of head coaches? And do we see more guys start to do the Kurt Signetti thing and go, nah, I'll just take 12.5 annually from smaller schools, believing that now with a bigger playoff field, I can get them in. We can do something like the Indiana Hoosiers are doing. Man, this is going to be wild, dog. I'm excited to watch this play out. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, a couple more sound bites. I'll stay right there. 844-326-3663, 844-FANFONE. If you'd like to be a part of the program, send your text or call that number. Get on the air with us. Texter said, where do you think James Franklin will end up? Could he coach well in the SEC? I think James Franklin can coach well anywhere. And I think that there are SEC jobs he could get. But I think those SEC jobs are like Kentucky. Those SEC jobs are like Arkansas. Do I think James Franklin's getting an LSU or a Florida job? No, I don't.
All right, correct me if I'm wrong. He was at Vanderbilt, right?
He was at Vanderbilt.
So why would he want to go back to that level?
Because he may not have other options. Like what school with national championship aspirations? And keep in mind, the belief of the concept of national championship aspirations, the belief has changed. Right? Because now you're looking at a 12-team playoff field. The scope of teams that believe that they could be a national championship team is wider than it ever has been before. Georgia Tech is now in that group. Vanderbilt is now in that group. The Indiana Hoosiers are now in that group. So any team that has national championship aspirations, Ole Miss is in that group. Even if Lane Kiffin does leave, even if Lane Kiffin takes a $22 million with a 10-year guarantee and 5 of it fully guaranteed, or he takes a $15 million, but it's a traditional contract. Even if he leaves, Ole Miss still, because of Lane Kiffin, believes we get a coach and we have got national championship ability in us. If you are a team that believes national championship is a reality, even if it's a once in a blue moon we make a run, you believe it's a possibility. And you know how college football fans work. You know how college football administrators work. Why would anybody spend the money to go get James Franklin? The only reason I can come up with is James Franklin is willing to coach on a half discount because he's still getting paid by Penn State.
Here's the reason why you go get James Franklin, because whether you believe he wins the big game or not, and I guess it's been proven, he wins a lot of games. So
he wins a lot of games.
If you're a team who doesn't do that, and you can look at that guy and go, that guy.
I agree with that.
He's won in the SEC. He's won in the Big Ten. I think he goes to the ACC.
I agree with that.
And what teams are available in the ACC?
I would agree with that, but here's the thought.
So him at Florida State. Florida State's not going to be happy about it.
They're not, because even though it has been
also the ACC,
let me finish.
Easiest path to the playoff is the ACC.
Because Florida State still believes, even with the 2-10 year last year, even with a 3-9, maybe 4-8, at absolute best 5-7 year this year, Florida State still believes this is on Norvell. We are a team that is capable of competing for a national championship every year. James Franklin is going to, I think the ACC is a great landing spot for James Franklin. I agree with that part. But James Franklin is going to end up somewhere with a place that has no culture developed underneath it. As much as the structure of Florida State has been knocked down, Florida State still has, in their opinion, and I would agree with this, they still have an underlying culture of blue blood success down there. Now it's just a matter of, can you sweep away the debris of the Mike Norvell, Willie Taggart years, get a new guy in there, and start the process of building on the culture. James Franklin's a guy who is going to build you an excellent culture from the ground up, and he's going to build you a good, solid 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom, but he's never going to build you the mansion. He's going to get you a nice little starting spot. He's going to get you a starter house. But he's not going to take you up to the Ritz, man. You're not moving on up to the east side with James Franklin. He's going to build you a nice starter house, and that's going to be it. So a school that has a foundation and a starter house and believes we just need the right guy and we're in the national championship, that's not the spot. So where would James Franklin land? Virginia Tech? Arkansas? Right? Like Arkansas is in a spot right now. Yes, the Razorback fans believe that we just got to find the right coach, and we can be a national championship contender. The difference between them and Florida State is FSU's got one in the last 2 decades. FSU's been to a bunch in the last 3. They've been in the mix. And even in years where they haven't won one or competed for one, they've been a playoff team. They've been a BCS team. They've been there. Arkansas has it. So I think from a neutral perspective, Arkansas is a great landing spot. Virginia Tech's a great landing spot.
The top ACC spot would be Florida State. And they still have a coach. Apparently
they do, because they can't find one guy willing to pay the lion's share of that buyout. But even still, Florida State fans believe, and I don't think they're wrong. Florida State fans believe we have got a national championship foundation laid. We don't need a guy because he averages 10. We need a guy that we think can win a title. And at the end of the day, you might go, well, wait a minute, Rob, like, how do you land on a Kurt Cignetti, a Brent Key, a Clark Lee? Well, the answer is Florida State's going to have to try to play that game because they're not necessarily a school that is going to be able to, I mean, if they can't afford Mike Norvell's buyout, they certainly can't afford to get into the Lane Kiffin sweepstakes and also be paying Mike Norvell's buyout. The problem they had when they split with Jimbo Fisher and he went to Texas A&M, the problem that they had was the budget wasn't there and they had to go with a budget higher. And because they fired Willie Taggart and they had to give him a buyout, not a big one, but a buyout nonetheless, Mike Norvell was a budget higher. Florida State does not want to go budget higher because they believe, hey, if we do it again and we don't get it right. Now, there are some budget hires, Brent Key, Clark Lee, Kurt Cignetti. These are all budget hires that worked out. And it took them to the best those three programs have ever been, to the point that, again, Indiana's coming off a $96 million contract right now. Paying Kurt Cignetti, what was it, $11.5 million annually, $11.9 annually. Florida State believes the foundation is still there. Why would you, if you believe the national championship foundation is still there, you have two options, which is you go roll the dice on a coordinator, on a lower level coach that has got some high results, has won a bunch of games, has won some titles, like, I don't know, Dan Lanning, who Oregon picked up from Georgia after he coordinated some championship runs and a trophy. Dan Lanning is at Oregon because of his success at Georgia. And they got Dan Lanning initially on a pretty good value for a school that now is about to have to, especially if he was to win a title this year, make Dan Lanning the highest paid head coach in college football. Florida State's got to go that path. So why would you go with a guy like James Franklin, who showed you, yeah, get you 10 wins, but like, you're never winning the conference. You're never winning a natty. You're never winning playoff games. Like, we'll get you close, but no cigar. They'll take a risk to try to find the next Dan Lanning and do what Oregon did. That is why I do think James Franklin is coaching again, and honestly, maybe as early as next season. But he's going to have to go somewhere that doesn't have that culture enshrined, doesn't have a fan base that believes we are a good head coach away from being a national championship contender. Because if that is the mindset of the boosters, and again, at the heart of this conversation are boosters. It is the boosters that figured out a way to get Lane Kiffin paid at Ole Miss. It is the boosters who figured out a way to get Brian Kelly fired, even if it's just one. If you have a booster that has one guy in it that says, we're so damn close and Brian Kelly's the one thing and I'm willing to spend $50 million to prove it, to get him up out of Dodge, that's a fan base that's not going to have a hard time or a problem coming up with the money to make Lane Kiffin or whoever the highest paid head coach. James Franklin's going to get a job because of two reasons. A school like a Virginia Tech, a school like in Arkansas, he can sell it as, I'm going to get you 10 wins. I'm going to get you to where you're getting 10 wins every year. Kids like me, I recruit well, they want to play for me. I will get you to where you get to 10 wins. And then after I get you there, then you can find the guy that will take you from 10 wins to 12. Or 15, or whatever number you want to throw in there. That's going to be the reality around James Franklin. That's Arkansas. That's Virginia Tech. That's Stanford. That's who else? UCLA. UCLA would be a great landing spot. Why? James Franklin's got a ton of familiarity in the Big Ten, but he's on the other side of the country. So he's recruiting an entirely different geographical area locally. He's going to have resources because, shockingly, UCLA's got pretty good resources available there. Like, UCLA will be a great landing spot. Cal will be a great landing spot. Stanford would be a great landing spot if Frank Reich isn't going to stick around, which right now he probably is. I look at schools like that, and I say, and I'll go one step further. This is not to say that there is a coaching change, because there can't, shan't, and won't be. South Carolina would be a great landing spot for James Franklin, because you have to build the culture. And Shane's been doing a great job building the culture, but the culture at some point either translates to wins or it's not a culture. Like, you know what I mean? I will say this. This is, I think, though it came at a really inopportune time and place, I think that's what Mark Stoops was kind of saying a couple of years ago when he kicked off the baby rivalry between the Gamecocks and the Wildcats, when he said there is a difference between culture change and climate change. Culture change eventually starts turning into wins. And first you lose big, then you lose small, then you win small, then you win big. Culture change is what turns into wins. Climate change does not. Climate change gives you the feel goods. It makes you feel all warm and fuzzy. You go, man, I have super duper fun watching my team play, but it doesn't translate to wins. Culture change translates to wins. James Franklin is a culture changer. He is a culture builder, but it's not going to translate to the highest level of wins. However, he can get you to that spot where you're ready to go to the next level. Penn State's ready to go to the next level. Vanderbilt was ready to go to the next level when he left, and it took him a little while to find Clark Lee. But once they got to Clark Lee, Vanderbilt's gone to the next level. That's what James Franklin is. That is not a spot that right now you can say Shane Beamer is successful. I would argue right now, maybe, even though it got his ass handed to him by saying it, maybe Mark Stoops kind of had a point. Maybe it's truly just climate change in South Carolina, not a true culture change, because culture change has to eventually turn into wins. If you were, and I know that there is a minority of you, but I know there are some South Carolina Gamecock fans that are ready to move on from Shane now. They're like, okay, this was it. Like, this was the year to show growth. And in fact, if anything, you showed regression from last year. Like, you took a big step back, not because you have less talent, but just the way the team operates is less good than it was last year. If you wanted to move on, James Franklin would be a primo candidate for South Carolina. Let him build you to where you are a 10-2 team, where you are threatening a conference title every now and then. And then once that's established, ingrained, enshrined, and has momentum and an upward trajectory that is consistent and staying in that direction, then you go, all right, James, thanks for coming. Now we've got the culture. Now we win. Now we're a winner. Now top-level candidates moving forward that can win the big game, now they'll be interested in us. That's how you get to that point. You should already have some level of attraction just by having SEC resources behind you. But you got to build a culture, a foundation of winning to become that next level of attractive. Florida State feels like they are there. That's why James Franklin's not a name that's going to be thrown in there. South Carolina, if you are out on Shane Beamer, Franklin will be a great landing spot. If you're not in.
Are there Vegas odds about where he'll go?
Yeah, there are. I'll look at those during the break, as a matter of fact. But we got to take a break. When we come back, third hour of the show, I got some clips for you in the audio blitz coming up next. We'll talk a little bit more about this. We'll get some NFL talk in here. We'll get some World Series talk. It's going to be a busy day here on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Let's take a listen to a championship caliber sports flash, shall we?
Definition of playing hurt. It took 2 full baseball games to find the winner of Game 3, but the Dodgers used a Freddie Freeman walk-off homer in the bottom of the 18th inning to take a 6-5 win over Toronto and a 2-1 World Series lead. LA used 10 pitchers and Toronto used 9 to get to the finish line with a total 31 combined hits between the two teams. Game 4 is tonight at 8. Kansas City Chiefs wrapped up the NFL weekend with a 28-7 win over the Commanders. Patrick Mahomes had 3 touchdowns and 299 yards, but was picked off twice. Travis Kelce had a throwback night with 99 receiving yards and his 83rd career touchdown, tying him with Priest Holmes for most in franchise history. Charlotte FC will begin their march through the MLS playoffs tonight with a first-round matchup against New York City FC in North Carolina. The teams split their regular season games 1-1 this year, each with a 2-0 win.
The Rob Brown Show is back on your radio. It's the Fan of State. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Rob Brown, the Great Alonzo, and you are rolling through a No Ball Tuesday where we have talked a bunch so far, and we'll talk a bunch more coming up here in just a minute from now. I went back and I rewatched the fourth quarter of the South Carolina-Alabama game yesterday. And in watching the fourth quarter of the South Carolina-Alabama game yesterday, I picked up on a couple of things that I think went wrong for South Carolina down the stretch. One of them was just that Alabama's a damn good football team. That is a national championship caliber team. That's a good team. But there is a football reason that I think South Carolina ended up losing that football game down the stretch. And I'm going to tell you what the biggest reason to me was coming up in the next segment of the show. But I want to get to the audio blitz here. The best audio that we have picked up over the past 24 hours. I have got a handful of clips that I would like to get going for you here. Let's go with this one. A couple of baseball clips from last night's game. There were two that I really wanted to hammer on. The first, bottom of the, and this is not a verbal typo, 18th inning, a full second baseball game. And in the bottom of the ninth of the second game that got played in one game last night, that would be the bottom of the 18th, former Atlanta Brave legend, and I had been referring to him up until last night as Atlanta Braves legend turned LA Dodger, Freddie Freeman. Yeah, I'm sorry after this. He's just LA Dodger legend, Freddie Freeman.
The 2-1. Ball 3. If it goes to the 19th, it'll go where no World Series game has ever gone. On a 3-1, Freeman takes strike 2. .1150 in Los Angeles. Foreman sends a fly ball to center field. Varsho's going back before the catch strikes me. Freeman has ended it. It's a repeat hero with the last word on a Game 3 classic.
After an absolutely spectacular game, those of you that stayed up until 2:50 a.m. were treated to what I believe to be. And I mean this. I've said already once this morning, I'll say it again. I think baseball is the best postseason in American sports because every single game and every single series can have tension that starts in inning 1 and holds you until the final out of inning 9 or 12 or 15 or 18. That was palpable last night. I turned it off in the 13th inning. I'm like, I have to go to bed. It is 12:50 a.m. I've got to be awake in like 2.5 hours. I got to go to bed. I went to bed thinking, honestly, there's a very good chance that this is over on the next pitch and I may miss it. Turns out, if I'd have stayed awake and went to bed when the game ended, I'd have gotten about 50 minutes of sleep. 2:50 a.m. That game went off the television, and the tension was there the entire time. And I got to tell you, I was so hype when I went to bed. I didn't go to sleep for like 40 minutes after I went and laid down. Like, I might as well have just stayed up and watched the damn baseball game. Baseball's postseason is the best. And we have those off-season topics where you just kind of like, you throw out sports conversations that are fun to have with the boys when there's not a lot going on in the sports world in a football-heavy area like ours. One of them every year is what's the best sound in sports, right? And it's always like, oh, it's the pop of a swish from a long 3, or it's the kick of a football, or the sound of the ball, the golf ball hitting the bottom of the cup, or whatever. All great. I don't think there's a better sound in sports than a bottom of the inning walk-off dong, the crack of the bat and the crowd building as they go, is it? Yeah, it's gone. And they come alive. I think it's the best. Now, there was also something else in that game. Top second, no outs, Bo Bichette on first base, and this happened.
First, oh boy. Oh, right. Everybody's confused. Varsho's still in his spot. Bichette's wandered off of the base, and he's out. He thought it was ball 4. I think we all thought it was ball 4. But the home plate umpire, Mark Wegner, said strike 2, and so that was a live ball. Bichette is out, 1 away.
Don Varsho at the dish. He takes a ball that is takes a pitch that is right on the edge of the plate. Home plate umpire says it's a strike. And you can hear him in the clip go, strike. Here's the problem, and this is why I get upset with umpires. One of the reasons that umpires are demonstrative, the way that they are demonstrative, is so that, especially in a game like last night where Dodger Stadium was absolutely raucous, even in the second inning, when they are demonstrative, everybody on the field can look at them and see that was a strike or that was a ball. Last night, the home plate umpire calls that a strike, except for he goes, for those of you watching on the stream, you're welcome for the dramatic acting. For those of you that aren't, follow along with the clues. The umpire last night, he's down, the pitch hits the mitt, and he goes like this, strike! He throws the signal out about 3/4 of a second after he makes the call of strike. Now, it's loud as hell in that stadium. You're talking 27,000+ people that are either elated because it's a strikeout or upset because elated because it's a strike, or furious because it's ball 4 and now there's runners on first and second in a tight ball game. Bo Bichette on first base did not hear the strike call, and because the umpire took his sweet-ass time signaling it with the hand motion, Bo Bichette thought it was ball 4. He just started jogging to second base. But because it was strike 2, he got thrown out on the bags. Cost the Blue Jays a very valuable out in what would go on to obviously be a tight game. It was an 18-inning baseball game. This is why I get frustrated with umpires. You're not making the hand signal because it's about you, Chief. You're not. Your silly little strikeout dances, all right, fine, whatever. You get your moment in the sun. It's not about you. It's about the pitcher and the batter, but whatever. You get your moment. But, man, when you're calling balls and strikes on regular pitches, especially when there's runners on the bags, you have to strike, put the hand up, let them know immediately. That is a strike. If you get off the bag, it is a live ball, because it was. And Bo Bichette got tagged out because of that, and it cost the Jays what might have been, had Varsho on the next pitch put one out into right field, maybe that's a run scored. Maybe that's the difference in the game. And that's what ended up happening. I had a problem with it. All right, a couple more clips I wanted to get to you. Let's go with this one. This is an excellent take. I got to tell you, Dale Earnhardt Jr. has won me over with this podcast because he's got some great racing takes. He's got some racing takes that maybe aren't great, but like they're fun to discuss and debate. But more importantly, Dale Earnhardt Jr. might be the most regular, everyday, everyman that has a podcast with a name attached to it.
If you put a canned beer and a bottled beer in a cooler for the same amount of time, I think that the beer in the can is going to have a lower temperature than the beer in the bottle. When you go to these bars and they're consistently like restocking the beer, or they've gotten, they're busy. They opened up and they've stocked beer, and you get in there 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The beer you get out of their cooler is just, if it's bottled, it tends to be less, not cold enough.
I just would prefer to physically drink out of the bottle versus a can.
Yeah, I don't mind drinking out of the can. I think I don't prefer one over the other, but I just feel like bottled, I'm at a risk of getting a beer that's not quite as cold as I can get it. That's one of my one gripes, man. I don't about too much. I'm not too high maintenance, but I can't do a beer that ain't cold, man.
I can't do a beer that ain't cold, man. That, you know what? Like I've said this before. I adore every now and then when I get the opportunity to feel like I can really relate to an athlete, to a high level athlete, to a well-known household name. And this is one of those spots, man. Like, I get it, because yes, while I agree with Amy, his wife there, I would rather drink out of a bottle than a can. I also know if I'm in a place where there's a lot of people drinking a lot of beer and they're turning that beer over in that cooler over and over, I'm going to go with the can, because the can's going to drop temperature faster than the bottle in a beer. Now, I'd also say I would rather go on tap out of a glass than a bottle or a can, but I have to know and trust the cooling system in the bar. There are some bars that take great pride in making sure that their beer is 28 degrees, the perfect serving temperature. And there are others that you get it and you're like, this beer is closer to lukewarm than it is ice cold. And that's a bad beer. I'll just take a can. I'll drink a PBR out of the can before I drink a warm, nice micro craft beer. It's a big deal. Getting that beer perfect is the right deal. And by the way, real quick, as a brief aside, yes, the beer I'm drinking does depend on the circumstances of the situation I'm drinking it in. It's one thing if I'm out on the back porch, out of the fire pit with the boys, I will drink a cold Busch Light straight up out of the ice chest, no problem. If I'm out at a nicer establishment, I may step it up to an IPA or a double IPA. Here's the one thing about all of those beers, and this is a well-known mistake. Do not drink those beers out of a frosty mug. I know. It's like the thing. I want a cold beer and a tall frosty mug. Don't do that. It actually degrades the beer a little bit. It degrades the beer. It takes away from the aroma of the beer because it kills it off. Number two, if the beer is too cold, it numbs your palate. Your tongue's got nerves on it, just like every other part of your body. And if you freeze them, if you put cold on them, they, like every other part of your body, will go numb. Now you lose some of the essence of the beer, some of the aroma of the beer, some of the taste on the palate of the beer. If you're a beer guy, ultimately, cold mugs are actually bad if you are trying to. Now, if you're just drinking some PBR with the boys, have at it. Makes your beer colder, I get it. But if you're drinking a nice, expensive beer, don't drink it out of a cold mug, man. You kind of ruin it a little bit. Hey, speaking of beer, you know what goes great with beer? Hot dogs. Big hot dog guy. You know it's a big hot dog city? Chicago, Illinois. Such a big hot dog city that they have a restaurant there that just does hot dogs. And every now and then, this restaurant, and I'll tell you the name of it in a minute because it's incredible. Every now and then, this restaurant connects with the local sports teams, and they try to get the sports teams to do something. And if they do something, this restaurant opens up, and they give free hot dogs out to Chicago sports fans who come by and say hello. So this restaurant, who I'll tell you the name of here in just a moment, this restaurant made an ask of Chicago Bears head coach Ben Johnson. They said, hey, coach.
Wait. An ask.
An ask.
They asked him.
They asked Ben Johnson.
They requested.
They made the ask of Ben Johnson after a dub. If you will hit the celly by going shirtless, we will give some hot dogs out to everybody in Chicago that comes by. And this, when told that by the media after the game this past weekend, was Ben Johnson's response.
You heard about the hot dog thing with you taking your shirt off?
That's been mentioned. It's a little disturbing. Why would we want to see that? Any comment?
No. Why do you assume I'd have? Are you interested in feeding people?
Well, yeah, I am.
Yeah, do you not want people to eat, Ben?
I'm a man of the people, so time will tell.
Actions speak louder than words.
Yeah, that's right.
So, if Ben Johnson goes tarps off, boys, after a dub for the celly, the restaurant's going to give him out. I played this clip for two reasons. Well, three reasons. One, it's hilarious. Number two, I got to give a lot of credit to Lonzo, who was very clearly the reporter in there who was pushing Ben Johnson by going and say, wait a minute, Ben, don't you care about feeding people? Don't you want to make sure everybody is well fed in the community? Like, what a great line of questioning to kind of guilt trip him in. And the third reason I bring it up is because, you know me, I'm both a branding genius and a pun guy. I love a good pun wrapped up in a name. The name of the restaurant, Lonzo, is the Wieners Circle. The Wieners Circle.
Wow.
The Wieners Circle. It's a hot dog restaurant. It's a sports theme. The Wieners
Oh,
Circle.
no, that's great. Do they have a logo?
I don't know. I haven't looked it up yet.
Okay.
Primarily because I know when I go to that place, I'm going to be like, well, here's 12 hot dogs I got to make at the crib tonight. I got to try to copy the Wieners Circle.
Yeah, I'm not going to look that up on my computer, though.
I am.
Okay. You go right ahead.
Hey, Chris, deal with it. There's going to be a Google search for the Wieners Circle somewhere in the mix. All right, let's get one or two more in here before we go to a break. Lane Kiffin. Hey, we talked about him a lot this week. I got news for you, college football fans. We're going to be talking about him a lot more. Will he take in will he switch jobs in season? I don't know. Probably not, to be honest with you. His team's on a quest for a natty. Now, if Ole Miss drops a game or two, like, I don't know, this weekend at home hosting the Gamecocks of South Carolina, he drops one and he falls out of the national title mix, then I think maybe there's a chance. But also probably not. He still takes a job. Either way,
Yeah,
Lane Kiffin.
If he does that, those jobs may not be available anymore.
I mean, if LSU comes calling, yeah, they don't care. They're good with it. Now, will it impact his ability to get jobs in the future? I don't know. But if he gets the LSU job, honestly, it's like you better figure it out here or you're going back to D2. I don't know. Either way, Lane Kiffin was on the Pardon My Take Barstool podcast, and they asked him just kind of a fun, dumb question. And then Lane Kiffin upped the ante in the most Lane Kiffin possible way and also gave us the reason that, y'all, I can't stand a Florida Gator, but I kind of want to see Lane Kiffin end up in Gainesville.
I got a very dumb question for you. Ready? This is the dumbest question you probably will ever get as a coach. You wear a visor, Have you ever thought about wearing the visor with the fake hair?
No, I have not.
Okay, think about it. That would be awesome if you just came out with like blonde hair. It was fake blonde hair. You know the ones they sell at gas stations?
Yeah.
Would be kind of funny.
I think Doug Peterson wore those.
Yeah.
You're thinking about it right now.
I told you it was a dumb question.
In college, we went back to like Tampa, like out by St. Pete to like the beach out there area. And we were like, we're going to go to like this 80s band, you know, like Stormbringer was their name. And we went to like the like dollar store and bought like clothes, you know, like that would fit in down there. It's kind of like the Florida beaches, like on that side over there. And I do remember we got like the wig deal.
Yeah.
We got the rat tail that you can pin on. Awesome.
Think about it. What
if you did rat tail for a game?
That would be awesome.
I just want to say,
I love this guy so much.
No, that was extremely awkward for a little while, but the coach said, "You know what? I'm going to save this."
Yeah, I agree.
And he saved it because
and for the record,
there was awkward silence in there. We both have witnessed that before.
For
it's
sure.
like, oh man, I thought that was a good question.
To the credit of Big Cat, who is the Barstool personality who asked the question, he did say multiple times, "This is a stupid question. It's a real dumb question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. I know it's going to be awkward. Stupid question." I just like that Lane immediately was like, "Well, hold your horses here." When I was in college, I went to Florida's East Coast. I got a bunch of gear to go see some 80s band play back in the day, including a clip-on rat tail. And I am willing to break out the clip-on rat tail. Y'all, I'm going to tell you right now, if there is a coach that has ever, from a culture perspective, ever fit better in a place than Lane Kiffin would fit at the University of Florida, I don't know who it is. You think Lane's not going to show up rocking the John Cena jorts to coach a game? Hell yeah, he is. Hell yeah, he is. Lane will be out there in the cutoff vest and the jorts and the visor. You think Lane wouldn't LOL when he plays Mississippi State, break out the rat tail on the back of the visor? Like, I can't stand Florida, and I'm terrified if Lane goes there, we're all going to live under another reign of Lane terror at the University of Florida, because now he will finally have all the resources he needs and the maturity to take advantage of it, which I don't think he did at Tennessee or USC. But I kind of want to see it happen, because Lane in Gainesville, if they turn it into Lanesville, Florida, would be absolutely iconic.
All right, now I'm just picturing you wearing a rat tail.
Not for me, man. Like I never got the Florida man stink on me.
I was going to say you would have been in high school probably after it was really big, but I mean you would have got the tail in, so to speak, and so never any.
No, the rat tails were out by the time I got to high school.
Okay.
They weren't a thing.
All right,
we had moved on to bleaching your hair, bleaching your tips.
Well, that makes sense,
Yeah.
but I don't know if rat tails would have been acceptable at Cotillion.
No, they absolutely would not have. We'd have had a talking to. All right, one more very quickly before we go to the break. If you watch the World Series games, you will notice that, as has been the case for like a long time now, there is a dude that sits behind home plate at every game wearing an orange Miami Marlins shirt. And I got to tell you, I hated this guy. I'm like, dude, you are the most trying to get yourself over in the wrestling crowd, wrestling fan of all time. You're as bad as those dudes at WrestleMania 2 years ago that hold up fat heads of their own fat heads. I hated those people. Hated this guy.
That's a good move, actually.
No, it's not. You're an a-hole. You're an a-hole.
No.
If two wrestlers are face-to-face trying to cut a promo and all I see is your big-ass head in between their faces, you're going to business for yourself, brother. And I'm not here for it. Just like I wasn't here for Marlins guy, except for a reporter in Toronto where Marlins man, as he is called, actually did a quick conversation with Marlins man. And I got to tell you, I waited.
I'm the Marlins man. Yeah, the one you see on TV. I never realized I was standing out like a traffic cone. I've been to every World Series since 2012, except 2 years ago when I had lung and stomach problems. I've been to everything.
If you don't mind me asking, what do you do for work?
I'm a workers' comp lawyer, and I own a hell of a lot of racehorses and commercial real estate buildings. You give me money to do this. It's not cheap. I use it to promote two things. One, I want September 11th to be First Responders Day. And two, to pay it forward to strangers. I always bring strangers with me to games and give them the best experience of their life.
And how did this start?
It started when I was going to baseball all the time in Marlins Field. Nobody knew me. But when I started going in Orange, people were like, who's that? But the cool thing about it was my friends could finally see me because they couldn't see where I was. It's been a lot of fun, and it's been a good ride. and I really appreciate everybody being good to me.
So I could not stand Marlins man. He annoyed the crap out of me. I'm like, dude, you're going into business for yourself. In fact, even in that clip, I was ready to be mad because he said at one point, well, I didn't think I'd stand out like a traffic cone. My guy, you're in a bright orange jersey. You are literally dressed as a traffic cone. You can't look more like a traffic cone without wearing a dunce cap on your head, my guy. But
happens every Saturday at Death Valley.
Dude, then he goes to the next level. They're like, what do you do for a living? He's like, well, I'm a lawyer and I own a bunch of racehorses. Y'all, I despise horse racing. I hate it. I think it's the dumbest thing in the world. And he's like, I'm like, dude, I'm going to hate this guy. And then they said, why do you do it? And he said, because I want to promote September 11th as National First Responders Day. And I bring a stranger who's never been to a ball game to every game that I come to. And just like that, he won me over. Just like that, he turned around and won me over. Now, I got two more things that kind of fall in line with this. And that is not judging or criticizing people who don't act the way you want them to because you don't know what they're going through. Because I got to tell you, Kirk Herbstreit is eating a big old platter of crap today because of something he did on Thursday night. And what he didn't know was happening when he said it. And he's not the only one. I got another clip from a former offensive lineman in the NFL that I want to play for you in that same vein. We'll do that next on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
I don't know. The guy's a workman's comp lawyer. He owns a bunch of horses.
And he owns a bunch of residential real estate.
Does he look like a mafia guy?
Nope. He just looks like everybody's uncle.
That sounds like,
nope. Nope. He's just somebody. He's just everybody's uncle. Or he is then the greatest mafia disguise of all time. But I just think he's some dude's cool younger brother. Or older brother, I guess. All right, stay right there, guys. I'll be right back. The Wiener Circle. BRB. I'm going to tell you guys what I'm laughing at as soon as we come back. That's an all-time phone call.
I also found another problem with this chair. The ring is gone.
Uh-huh.
And so when you're used to putting your feet on the ring.
See, I don't. But I can see how if you were used to it, that would be a problem.
Oh, I did. The fact that I can do this.
Yeah.
I prefer that.
Yeah.
And I can always Saturday replace it with something from Word. Because there are a bunch of chairs in there and only one person sits in there.
All right. 3 things to tell you very quickly. Number 1, I'm going to do the South Carolina-Alabama thing in the next segment, primarily because I screwed up the clock and this is a very short segment and I don't want to shortchange that segment. So that's coming up next. Number 2, I just got what I think maybe is my funnest, my funniest phone call in the history of the Rob Brown Show at any station I've ever been on. We were talking about Marlins man in the last segment. This is a dude who shows up to every Major League Baseball playoff game or at least World Series game, but throughout the playoffs as well. And he's wearing a bright-ass orange Miami Marlins jersey. And in the clip we played where I said, this guy actually kind of won me over because they said, like, why do you do this? And he said, well, I'm spreading awareness. I want to see September 11th turned into National First Responders Day, which I think is absolutely a great idea, and we should absolutely rush to do that. But at the beginning of the clip, he said, I didn't know I was going to stand out like a traffic cone, which I said, my guy, you're wearing a bright-ass orange jersey. In a sea of white jerseys wherever you go, you're wearing a bright orange jersey. The only way you could stand out more like a traffic cone is if you wore an orange dunce hat on top of your head as well. And we got a call from Daredevil, who is a longtime listener of the program and of the station and is visually impaired, who called the show to tell Lonzo to tell me thank you because he learned something today. He learned today that traffic cones are orange because nobody's ever told him that before. Thank you, Daredevil. I need you to know I got a violent laugh when Lonzo told me what your phone call was about. So I appreciate that. All right, real quick, I want to play 2 clips for you. I want to start with this one. Last Thursday night, there was a footballing contest that was taking place between the Minnesota Vikings and the LA Chargers. Carson Wentz was starting for the Minnesota Vikings as J.J. McCarthy continues to work his way back from injury, or as some conspiracy theorists have leaned into, J.J. McCarthy has not proven to Kevin O'Connell that he's good enough to be the starting quarterback. And so Kevin O'Connell is letting him use the cover of an injury to practice and get better. We'll see. Either way, during that game, late in that game, in the fourth quarter of that game, with about 5.5 minutes left to play, Carson Wentz, who got sacked 5 times and hit 8 more, if I recall correctly, Carson Wentz went to the sideline and was clearly not okay. He was wincing in pain. He appeared to have tears in his eyes and threw his helmet down, slumped down to the bench. He looked like a young man in puppy love who just got dumped by his first girlfriend. And old Kirk Herbstreit, who I do not dislike at all, but I had a problem with this, said this.
Tell you 1,000 words or replace it. This can be like 3,000 words.
Yeah. You know, I understand. It's been obviously a rough night, and he hadn't had a lot of help. But to me, when you're the captain of the ship, you're the quarterback. You got to try to hold some of that emotion in. And I know he's frustrated, and he's hurt. But it's week 7. You know, there's a long way to go, and I think that's some of that's just raw emotion.
Yeah, he's been in the mix master tonight all night long.
So Kirk says, "Oh, you know, when you're the captain of the ship, when you're the emotional leader, you can't show that. You can't show that pain. You can't show the frustration. You gotta keep it in. It's only week 7. Turns out there will be no week 8 for Kirk Cousins. He is set to undergo season-ending surgery to repair a left shoulder injury he originally suffered October 5th when he played the first time in place of injured starter J.J. McCarthy. Wentz has been, according to ESPN, hear me out on this, Wentz has been playing since October 5th with a dislocated shoulder that included a torn labrum and a fractured shoulder socket during this entire run.
Has the team been fined yet?
That's a great question. Not that has been made public.
Well, they should be, right? Because injuries, that's a rule. They're supposed to be reported.
Well, I agree, but keep in mind, we are also, and we're going to talk about old Kirko Cousins here in a minute, because by golly, good gracious, did Atlanta watch the trade value of Kirk Cousins tank this past weekend? We'll come to that later on, either in the show or in the week. Question mark is, like, did Wentz not tell them? Because we know,
dude, that's a lot of injuries.
That's it's a big injury.
Yeah.
And I have to assume, I've never had a dislocated shoulder, torn labrum, or fractured shoulder socket. But I got to imagine that any one of those three would suck a lot. He had all three at the same time. So the question mark is going to be, much like it was with Kirk Cousins at the end of last year. Was Carson Wentz hurt and the Vikings covered him up? Sorry, T Experience said not Kirk Cousins. You meant to say Carson Wentz. Yes, Carson Wentz. But I brought up Kirk Cousins because of what happened with Atlanta at the end of the year last year. We had that big controversy about Kirk Cousins losing his job to Michael Penix Jr. late in the year, and it turned out he had an arm injury. And the Falcons were effectively saying, he didn't tell us about it. And Kirk was effectively saying, yeah, I did, but we decided to play through it. And Atlanta was like, no, we didn't. And Kirk was like, yeah, we did. And Atlanta was like, no, we didn't. Blah, blah, blah. You get the point. It turned out at the end of the year that Kirk Cousins was lying about the severity of the injury, so he didn't lose his job to Michael Penix Jr., which he ultimately did anyway, but you get the point. And Atlanta took a lot of crap. Turns out, nope, Kirk Cousins was lying about the injury, which, again, I understand, like, it's gladiatorial out there, but at the same time, not great, Bob. I got a harder time believing Carson Wentz was lying about a dislocated shoulder, torn labrum, and fractured socket all at the same damn time and was just rolling through it. I got big questions about a Minnesota Viking team that I was very high on at the beginning of the year, despite my complete lack of belief in J.J. McCarthy. But I was willing to give J.J. a chance because I also did not believe in Drake May and Bo Nix. And those two guys are just fine right now. So that whole thing is interesting. But the biggest takeaway for me is not even really football related. And this is where I'm going to get accused of being preachy or whatever, and I'm good with that. The biggest takeaway of this for me is don't talk a bunch of crap about somebody you don't know what they're going through. Because whether it was him on his own, and again, if Carson Wentz was lying about his injury to the Vikings and that's why he was playing, then yeah, that's on him. That's on him. And he had to go through the pain, but it was his choice to go through the pain. But I got a hard time believing that's necessarily true. Now, maybe he lied about the severity of the injury to the Vikings. Maybe he's like, hey, I'm a little sore, but I'm fine. Or, I had a little bit of sprain, but I can play through it, coach. In which case, all right, fine. But again, when we have created this world where gladiatorial combat, if you can't go, you can't go. And if you can't go and somebody steps in and kicks ass at the job, you might not get your job back. That's how this works. A lot of guys lie about a lot of injuries to play through them. The takeaway from me here was, hey, maybe don't talk a bunch of crap and call a guy weak. And that's not a direct quote from Kirk Herbstreit, but it's not far off from the tone of the conversation. Maybe don't call a guy weak when you have no idea what he's going through. Maybe don't do that. Let me play one more short clip for you real quick that kind of goes along this line. Lane Johnson was an offensive lineman for the Philadelphia Eagles, a member of both of their Super Bowl teams, along with Travis Kelce. Well, he did a spot on the Kelce Brothers podcast. Now, this is going to have some music behind it because it's kind of like a social media highlight to get you to go listen to the episode, and I will. Lane Johnson was one of the baddest ass dudes in the NFL for a long time, but he told his story on the Kelce Brothers podcast, and I want you to have a listen.
I was diagnosed with an anxiety disorder in college. The monster kept building and building and building. It finally came to a point where I said, I'm not going to take it no more.
This is the first time anybody's seen you publicly speak since you've come back to the Eagles. What happened that day?
The first game against Atlanta, I told my mom, I said, something's really, really wrong with me. I don't know exactly what it is. I said, I'm miserable. I know my mind isn't right. I know my body isn't right. I went back home. I didn't have any communication with the Eagles. I felt bad for my team. It got so bad, starting to throw up blood, nerves.
How come you never said anything?
I was ashamed, to be honest. In this league, the NFL, where it's, gladiator type sport, is something that it's not often talked about, but is often felt throughout the league. Basically,
you need to talk about it.
I was living in hell for a long time.
This is why I say in sport and in life, don't talk a bunch of crap about somebody when you don't. This is an NFL offensive line. This is one of the most badass dudes of his time in the NFL. And he is sitting there saying, after he retired, not only was I going through hell, I was vomiting blood. I was dealing with anxiety in a way that I could not enjoy football. I'm calling my mom to cry to her about it. And I couldn't say anything about it because that's not okay in the NFL. I put that in comparison with the quote from Justin Fields after the Jets finally got a win. 5 days after his owner, Woody Johnson, came out and said, it's kind of hard to win when we have a quarterback that's rated like our quarterback is right now. Like basically pinned it on him that they were 0-in the season. And he comes out and says, listen, I'm going to be vulnerable with you. I found myself lying on the floor in my closet crying this week because of the amount of pressure and everything that was on me. And he didn't directly attribute that to Woody Johnson. But come on, nobody was talking about it until Woody Johnson said something. Be kind, man. Be kind, be compassionate. I'm not saying that there's not space for toughness and aggression and physicality and ruthlessness when you're playing football. Absolutely there is. But, man, it's a game. It's a game. And these athletes are people. And as I've said before, just like I'm glad Lane Johnson got the help he needed to be able to move past it. And more importantly, I'm happy that he's at a point where he will now talk about it. Because I'm sure there's a lot of people that struggle with anxiety that will listen to, see a badass NFL dude and go, okay, if it's okay for him to talk about it, it's okay for me to talk about it too. He just said it wasn't okay for me to talk about it. Now it is. If you struggle with this stuff, anxiety, depression, whatever your addiction, whatever your issue is, get help. Get help. If Justin Fields can admit in front of the locker room after his first win, I cried on the floor of my closet because it was just overwhelming. If Lane Johnson, one of the most badass dudes in NFL history, can say, anxiety almost killed me and I had to get help and now I'm better and I can talk about it, you can too. If you are dealing with anxiety, if you are dealing with depression, if you are dealing with addiction, whatever your issue is, find somebody to talk about it. Find somebody to help you. If it's okay for Lane Kiffin, I promise you, you're not less of a man. You're not less of a person for getting help to get past that issue. And I hope that you do. I hope that you do. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show. What went wrong with South Carolina in the fourth quarter? I'll tell you next on the Fan Upstate. I've torn my labrum and really sucked in it. Yeah, I mean that's what Drew Brees had. That's what cost Drew Brees the spot at Miami. Which ended up having him become a New Orleans Saint because nobody believed he would be able to come back from that. It's not an easy thing to do. That man had that and a dislocated shoulder and I don't even know how you fracture a shoulder socket. Not even the bone, a socket. Could you imagine trying to rotate your shoulder bone around in the socket with the
hit
socket?
really hard by a defensive lineman? That's how you do it,
dude.
But
Unreal. All right, stay right there, guys. Gonna hit the restroom. Be right back. Yesterday was a great day in the world of sports as we had a sports equinox. It was the 32nd time in 54 years where all four major sports leagues played. We had NFL game, we had MLB game, World Series game number 3. We had NBA games, we had NHL games all taking place at the same time. Wonderful, wonderful day in sports. And as I prepared for yesterday evening's sports equinox, which was, again, a wonderful, wonderful day in sports. As I prepared for the sports equinox, I decided I wanted to go back and I wanted to watch the fourth quarter of the South Carolina-Alabama game from Saturday. Now, South Carolina was in that game early. They took the lead in the second. They held the lead until the fourth quarter. And then Alabama, with the touchdown drive, the successful 2-point conversion, tied the game at 22. South Carolina, with 1:09 left to play, all they needed was to go about 40 yards, get into field goal range, and kick a walk-off. Very much win on the table there for the Gamecocks at that point. And instead, with 1 minute, 9 seconds left to go, Lenore Sellers runs the ball, fumbles the ball, recovered by Alabama. Alabama able to drive down. They do score the touchdown, leave about 30 seconds left on the clock. South Carolina unable to answer in a very limited time to try to tie that game up and go into overtime. So what went wrong for South Carolina in the fourth quarter? We heard from Shane Beamer in the postgame press conference where he said, in fact, I have the clip right here. Here's what Shano had to say about not finishing.
You need to finish in the fourth quarter. When you got an 8-point lead at home and you got a team on the ropes, you got to put them away. And we didn't. We had an 8-point lead and we allowed them to go, whatever it was, 80 yards down the field and convert some third downs. And we did not play well on offense, defense, or special teams in the fourth quarter. I'm thinking we need to.
So that's what Shane had to say. Look, we didn't finish in the fourth quarter. We had them. 8-point lead. We let them go 60 yards down the field. We let them score the touchdown, and we couldn't answer after that. 100% true. But what happened? Why? Why? There's an X's and O's reason for this. There is a reason that all of those things happen. And I have them for you. The first is, earlier in the show, I was talking about World Series Game 3 from last night. And remember at one point I said that there is a razor-thin margin. If you missed it, then I will tell you that I said there's a razor-thin margin between aggression and stupidity. And it is hard to know exactly and precisely where that line is. If you are someone who is adept at seeing where that razor-thin margin between aggressiveness and stupidity is, you can take over any organization that you want. If you are able to tiptoe on aggression and never step over into stupidity, you're going to be fine. But it's a tough thing to do. Throughout the course of this game, South Carolina was playing aggressive but disciplined football on the defensive side of the football. Defensive ends were setting the edge. Listen, if Ty Simpson's going to stand in the pocket, we're going to collapse the pocket around him. We're going to give him less than 3 seconds to throw the football. We're going to trust our DBs. That was very successful. If a running back is going to get to the outside, we are either going to have a defensive guy who is going to chip him to keep him in, or he's going to be locked up by somebody covering on the outside. We will risk the middle of the field where we believe we've got enough talent. We're going to take Jam Miller as your emergency valve away from you. And then in the fourth quarter, that changed. I want you to go watch the defense of the South Carolina Gamecocks in quarters 1, 2, and 3, and then I want you to go watch the defense of the South Carolina Gamecocks on that touchdown drive from Alabama to tie the game and then to win the game. And what you will notice is that just about every successful play that the Alabama offense ran, just about every successful play was misdirection. Just about every single successful play they ran was misdirection. When Ty Simpson tried to stay in the pocket, when Ty Simpson did stay in the pocket, South Carolina had him. You were just fine. When misdirection got applied, the South Carolina defense started to over-pursue, started to get over-aggressive, and they started allowing Alabama to tell them where they wanted the defense to go instead of saying, this is what we are doing defensively, and we want you to operate in these parameters. Hey, man, and this is old school. If you beat us when we are setting the parameters defensively for what you're allowed to do offensively, if you beat us, you beat us. You're a good football team. We get it. But you dictated what Alabama was going to be allowed to do. They were not going to be allowed to ride Jam Miller to 130 yards and 2 touchdowns on the day. You weren't going to give him that. You were not going to allow Ty Simpson to dictate the passing game by getting outside of the pocket and extending and expanding plays. Wasn't going to happen. We're going to set the edge. We're going to make sure we have a guy on Jam Miller. And if you beat us outside of that, you're a good football team. We'll give you the credit for it. In the fourth quarter of that game, that went away. All of the sudden, I'm watching running backs, I'm watching slot backs that are coming out of the backfield and they're left all alone. And they either end up as pass catching targets, which happened a couple of times, or they end up as additional blockers for quick passes or runs to the outside. It got to the point where in the fourth quarter of that contest, what I was looking at, what I was watching was a defense that predicated to the offense of Alabama all day long. This is what we will allow. We are going to play our spots, our roles on the outside looking in. We're going to open up the middle of the field, or we're going to give you this, and every play there's going to be one spot, and if you find it, you beat us, you find it, and you beat us. So what? But we're not going to allow you to do the things that you want to do. And I think defensively, you got away from that a little bit. You get to those 2 touchdown drives, the one to tie it at 22 apiece, the one to take the lead with, whatever time left on the clock. When all of that happened, I watched a defense that dictated what the field was going to be shaped like all day long. Suddenly not do that. Suddenly Alabama was dictating to you what was going to happen. All of the sudden, we started to see running back slip out of the backfield, and nobody was going with them on the spy. All right, we're taking Jam Miller away, except for now. And now Ty Simpson's hitting little floaters out there. And because of that, wide receivers who all day long had to be focused on, now all of a sudden they're extra blockers. They're additional blockers because now in what was a very aggressive defense early, now I got guys playing with a pillow. Now I got guys playing with the cover, with the cushion in front of them. And so now those guys at that point, now they are able to act as an additional blocker. And so now all of these plays to the edge, which were not there for Alabama throughout the course of the game, now they are. And then there's the final drive. The drive where Lenoris fumbled the football and ended the game, allowed Alabama to go down and win the game. On that turnover, you went back to Mike Shula. All day long, the offense of South Carolina was the running the misdirection. I broke this game down yesterday quite a bit. One of the things that I pointed out that I really liked was the absolute creativity in adding an extra blocker to the scheme somewhere along the line of scrimmage and Alabama having to react to it. I pointed out at one point a play that I really liked. South Carolina's got a slot receiver on the right-hand side. They run him in motion behind the line of scrimmage. He gets over to the other side. He goes out wide of the defensive end, meaning the defensive end forgets that he went out there. And when the play is snapped, he doubles back, cracks down on the defensive end. The left tackle pulls around him, gets up to the second level, seals off the linebacker. Now I've got my either running back or quarterback going to the outside. It makes the cornerback make a decision. I am one-on-one with the wide receiver. I either step up to take the run away from Lenora Sellers, in which case he can dump it over my head, or I stay back to take the pass away from Sellers, in which case Sellers can take off running. Most of the time, he's going to, I think, in that spot, I would tell him, I want you to take the wide receiver away. Because if you take the wide receiver away, as soon as Lenoris crosses the sticks, yeah, it's a positive game, but at least you can get up there and stop him. But if you come up to stop Lenora Sellers and he dumps it over your head, that guy's got all day to run until he gets to a free safety or a strong safety. There had to be 7 or 8 plays where a guy would come and slot into motion and he would set in a slot back, except he was slot back between the guard and the tackle. He wasn't going all the way off the tackle or off the tight end. He was slot back between the guard and the tackle. And he's effectively an extra offensive lineman on that side of the football. And sometimes you ran to it. Sometimes you ran away from it because they weighted that side of the football field defensively. I thought there was a lot of good to that. What was the play that Lenora Sellers fumbled on? Anybody remember? Quarterback ISO dive. On Friday, when I was giving you the speech of, I don't think this game's going to be worth watching. I think Alabama's going to kill you. And remember, the reason why was not that you're not talented enough to pull a Cocktober surprise. It's been 7 games and you haven't done any of the things that you have to do to beat Alabama. Why would I expect suddenly you're going to do it in week 8? Well, you did do it in game number 8 until it mattered. And then in that drive, What did we see? Mike Shula go right back to the run it up the middle playbook. Why? When your quarterback, that last touchdown South Carolina scored, how was that touchdown set up? Stretch play right, fake stretch play right, Lenoris rolls out left. There ain't a soul out there. Why? When you are stretching the defense, and I know it's a pressure situation, and I know you got to get down the field, make something happen. But in a spot where you were looking at a high-pressure situation, this is what makes me scream. Why would you suddenly do something different than what puts you in a position to win the game? Against the number 4 team in the country. Against a team you were an 11.5-point dog to. Why would you suddenly do something different than what worked all day? And in that spot, all of a sudden, when the stretch right, the stretch left, the misdirection right, the extra blocker left, when all these different creative things you did with the offense all day long have been working all day long, when you need 4 yards to get a first down and give yourself a chance with, however, a minute and whatever, 39 seconds left to go down the field, kick a field goal to win this game. And you don't even have to go that much further. You need 30, 40 more yards. You're in position. Why all of a sudden did you get away from that? Why all of a sudden did we go right back to lead blocker Lenoris Sellers ISO off guard? Why? So everything in the litany list Friday that I said, if you want to win or at least make it a game, do X, Y, Z, and A. You did all those things for 3.99 quarters. And then on the drive that it mattered the most, you went right back to doing the Mike Shula things that cost you all the games you've lost so far. Why? Nobody's explained it to me yet. I don't think he can. We'll come back. We'll talk more about this in the final hour of the show. We'll get some more college ball in here as well. All of that coming up after. If they handed out trophies for Sports Flashes, it would just be called the Lonzo Memorial Trophy.
How do you know it's not already? It took 2 full baseball games to find the winner of Game 3, but the Dodgers used a Freddie Freeman walk-off homer in the bottom of the 18th inning to take a 6-5 win over Toronto and a 2-1 World Series lead. LA used 10 pitchers and Toronto used 9 to get to the finish line with a total 31 combined hits between the two teams. Game 4 is tonight at 8 p.m. Kansas City Chiefs wrapped up the NFL weekend with a 28-7 win over the Commanders. Patrick Mahomes had 3 touchdowns for 299 yards, but was picked off twice. Travis Kelce had a throwback night with 99 receiving yards and his 8th career touchdown, tying him with Priest Holmes for the most in franchise history. And Charlotte FC will begin their march through the MLS playoffs tonight with a first-round matchup against New York City FC. I've been scrambling for 4 hours.
Okay, even if it is, leave it. Apparently, there's a commercial where Jason Kelce offers the Predator a glass of garage beer.
Nope.
And he's like fully in character and costume to do it.
The new Predator from the new movie?
Yeah.
That's good for them. That's a big time. Although I'm not really sure about the new movie, but still.
Let's see.
Told you before, I and many like me have a problem with him not having dreads.
And Predator Badlands tie-in for the Kelsey's Garage Beer. Jason seeks to avoid an interstellar incident. But wait, there's more, quite a lot more, as a short film directed by Jordan Phoenix will break across Garage's social channels on Halloween, including the trailer. Cool.
Rando.
Kitchen and Baths have years of experience handling your kitchen and bath remodels. Go to mountaincreekcabinets.com and tell this guy to get out of here.
Shohei Ohtani was asked via his interpreter at the end of the game last night, how do you feel after that 18-inning game? And his answer was, and I quote, I want to go to sleep as soon as possible. I get you, dog. I feel you, bro.
I think his interpreter might be an alien. I don't know. He's got an odd-shaped head.
He does have an odd-shaped head.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
After an 18-inning slugfest last night between the LA Dodgers and the Toronto Blue Jays that ended with a Freddie Freeman walk-off giganto-dong, Shohei Ohtani was standing down on the field for his post-game interview.
For the starting pitcher in the next game. We saw Dave Roberts, your manager, check on you in the 11th inning. How do you feel, and how will you feel tomorrow?
今日の試合の展開っていうところもあって、下の状態、投げることに関してどう思いますか？もう早く帰って寝て明日に備えたいです。I want to go to sleep as soon as possible so I can get ready.
Rest well. Thank you so much, Shohei.
Yeah, me too, Shohei. I want to go to sleep as soon as possible. Hey, that might be the title of my autobiography at some point. I want to go to sleep as soon as possible. The Rob Brown story. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It is the Rob Brown Show here on the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the Great Malonzo, and you. 844-326-3663, 844-FANFONE. If you want to be a part of the show, call that number, text that number. We will read them on the radio show. We will put you on the air and respond to them as you submit your thoughts. We got a lot more we need to get to on the radio program today. Talked a little bit in that last segment about South Carolina. Again, I thought the biggest problem in that game, I think the reason for the loss to Alabama, specifically it being so late in the game, and I didn't even think it was the full fourth quarter. It was just the last 4 minutes of the game or so. It really came down to you stop doing everything that puts you in a position to win. It is tale as old as time when it comes to sports, man. Like too many teams that just get to a point where they decide that they want to do whatever they can do. Like you do a thing that got you to where you are, gave you a chance to win, especially if you're an underdog. Why, oh, why would you get to a point where you stop doing that thing? And I think ultimately that's what happened with the South Carolina Gamecocks. I mean, listen, just to tie it over, it's not just you. I think the same thing happened for the Toronto Blue Jays last night. This is a team that won a bunch of games to get to the ALCS, won games in the ALCS because they trusted their guys in spots to come through with big hits with runners in scoring position, right? Like they trusted their guys. Now, granted, George Springer was out of the game and he's kind of your go-to guy at that point, but they, throughout the course of this postseason, trusted their guys to come up with big spots in big spots that allowed them to score runs when they needed them. And last night, for whatever reason, there were a bunch of spots where all of the sudden they're sending guys to try to outrun the outfield arms of the Dodgers, which, no, you're not going to outrun the cannon of Teoscar Hernandez. Like, it's just not going to happen. They're challenging arms in ways that they didn't challenge arms all postseason long, and all of a sudden they are. The one that I pointed out back in the opening hour of the show was Davis Schneider, who was the pinch hitter for Ty France, who was the pinch hitter for George Springer. George Springer took a hack in the game. He ended up like grimacing and holding his back. He would leave the game. Ty France would come in as the pinch hitter. He would get a hit. And then Schneider would step in as his pinch hitter a little bit later on in the game. Schneider would get on with his 1 hit in 3 at-bats. Schneider would get to first. They would send him. He gets thrown out by 6 feet. It's like, all right, so let me get this right. You got a dude in Davis Schneider who has not seen a lot of playtime. You got a dude who, granted, like he's not the slowest guy in the world. He's 5'9", 190. Like he's got some speed on the bags, but he's not exactly known for it. Not a lot of stolen bases showing up on the stat sheet for Davis Schneider. And in a spot where 1 run can probably win you the game in the 12th inning, in a spot where the Dodgers have not scored a run in a minute now, you decide for a team that, by the way, at this point in the game, you had Vladdy, you had Bo Bichette. Actually, no, Bichette was pulled at that point. You had Connor Falefa coming up. You had Varsho. You had Heineman. Like, you had your guys coming up, and that's the spot that you decide. That's the spot that you decide that you want to send your guy, that you want to send a guy instead of doing what you've done all year. Hey, man, let's get you to third base. Let's get you into scoring position. Let's get you to a spot where we trust the 4, 5, 6 guys that we have in the lineup, even if they are pinch hitters. They are pinch hitting in the 5 or the 6 spot for a reason. Put runners on third base. It is again, I think, it is the most frustrating thing that teams do when they get to a spot where you are not where you're further along than you thought that you expected to be. You are a big-time underdog, like, 11.5 points at the crib to a team that's top 4 in the country, and you do something, and you do something, and you do something, and you do something, and it puts you in that spot. And then when the lights get bright, when it is go time for your biggest moment, for you to capitalize on the fact that you did what you did and you did it well enough to get you there, you don't do that thing anymore. And that's what I saw out of South Carolina. That's what I saw out of Toronto last night. Now, again, like, the Dodgers are a real good baseball team, just like the Alabama Crimson Tide are a real good football team. There's plenty of spots where you might do something that you do all day long. You might do something that you do all game long. And then the other team's just better than you are. I've told that story about my old middle school coach, Tom Grant, 100 times on this station. We got beat by a rival. Tom Grant walked in the locker room. He took off his big-ass straw hat. He sat down on the bench press, and he looked at us, and we were all ready to get our asses chewed out. And he looked at it and said, boys, today you had the worst problem in sports. The other team was just flat out better than you are. And that was a life lesson. That has stuck with me. Here I am, 30-some-odd years later, telling that story. It stuck with me. You just got to learn. Sometimes you can do the best you can do. My dad told me this all the time as well. Sometimes you can do everything right and do everything right to the best of your ability. And sometimes other people are just better than you at stuff and you're going to lose. The question mark is, how do you rebound from that? But I don't think that's what happened in the Alabama game. I don't think you went 3.8 quarters of football where you were either A, in the game, or B, leading the game. And then suddenly 2% of the game, Alabama just flipped the switch and we're like, oh, yeah, that's right. That's who the hell we are. I don't think that's what happened. I think you had a good game plan. I think you executed the game plan. And then when the pressure cooker got turned up to 11 like an amp for the band Spinal Tap, you wilted. All of a sudden, defensively. And I had this conversation with a friend of mine who's a Gamecock fan over the weekend. We got a lot of spots right now. I think we have 10 open jobs in college football right now, which, if I recall correctly, I believe is the most in-season open jobs we've ever seen at the FBS level of football. 10 in-season open jobs. And there's probably 4 to 5 more coming open. We could have 15 open jobs the day after the national championship game. We got 15 open jobs. And so in a spot where you have 15 open jobs, some of those schools are going to have to take a swing. And I was looking at this game after this game was over, and especially considering what it was last year, what it was this year, Let's be real. Like, the offense played as well as we've seen the offense play all year long. The defense had you win that game. The defense gave you a chance to win that game. And I told a South Carolina friend of mine on Sunday, I would not be shocked if you lose Clayton White to a head coaching position this year. I would not be shocked. And I don't think it would be like, Penn State, LSU. But I think if you're Georgia Tech, scratch that, Virginia Tech. If you're Virginia Tech, is Clayton White not kind of interesting to you right now? If you're Stanford, if you're UCLA, is Clayton White not kind of interesting to you? Especially considering, again, those types of schools. There is only going to be one big name available to those type of schools, and that is going to be James Franklin. But with potentially 15 open jobs, and for a school like a UCLA or a Stanford, who are at the bottom of that list of 15 teams, you're going to have to make an interesting hire. And you're going to have to hope that you hit on your Kurt Cignetti, your Brent Key, your Clark Lee. They're out there. There are 3 teams in the top 10 right now that are in the top 10 right now because they had to go hire an interesting choice at HC, a guy that not a lot of us knew a whole lot about. Cignetti, Key, Lee. And would you look at that, it worked out. Now, there's a lot of schools that aren't in the top 10 that did the same thing, and they missed. They just didn't get a Cignetti, a Lee, or a Key. But they're there. They're there. The opportunity is there. So if I'm looking like I'm going to go take a swing, with what I have seen out of the South Carolina Gamecock defense the last 2 seasons, is Clayton White not a very interesting name for you? He would be for me. If I'm Stanford, if I'm Virginia Tech, if I'm Cal, that's a real interesting name for me. Really, honestly, probably an even more interesting name if I'm like a Big Ten or Midwestern school. Those schools that kind of like to pride themselves on hard-nosed defense, right? Black shirts at Nebraska. We like to pride ourselves on a hard-nosed defense. That Clayton White's absolutely a guy I'm super interested in. So that is why I was a little bit surprised that defensively, less so than the offense, but defensively, it felt to me like you were in a spot there that you had an opportunity. It felt like you were in a spot there that you were predicating to Alabama what Alabama's offense was going to be allowed to do. And again, the take was always going to be, there's going to be something available for the Alabama offense. And they've got the talent to take advantage of it. But we are going to throw a bunch of different looks at you from a bunch of different places. And you're only going to beat us if you can find what is available. We're going to take this away on that and that away on this. We're not going to let your running backs beat us to the outside. We're not going to let Ty Simpson get outside the pocket and expand or extend plays as he is wont to do. We're not going to let those things happen. We're going to there's going to be a pocket. And we're going to close that pocket around you. And you're going to have to stand in that pocket, and you are going to have to deliver the football. And if you do that, great. Good job. You're a really good football team. You'll beat us. But we're not going to let you do what you've been doing to everybody else to beat us. And I thought defensively you did a great job. And then all of a sudden, in the fourth quarter, you just stopped. All of a sudden, running back slipping out of the backfield, no longer a priority. And Ty Simpson's finding those guys. All of a sudden, coverage on the outside, which was more about making sure that wide receivers were not able to be a part of the play as anything more than a distraction. All of a sudden, that wasn't a priority anymore. All of a sudden, the things that happened, the things that you did, the things that were working to get you in that game, you went away from it. And then, like I mentioned, that last drive, the drive that Lenora Sellers fumbled the football, $1:39 left to play, Alabama able to take it down the length of the field. And again, great play, by the way, by DQ Smith, the DB. I saw a lot of people like, why did he pull up? Why did he not knock the running back out of bounds? Well, I mean, because you're out of timeouts. If Alabama does anything at all that lets the clock keep running, and it would have been a first down, so they would have, all they got to do is come back in, kneel the football, run it down to 3 seconds, kick the walk off. The only way South Carolina can extend that game, obviously, the only way South Carolina can extend that game is if Alabama scores a touchdown. They kick the extra point. You got 30 whatever seconds left to play. They kick off, and now you got 27 some odd seconds to figure out how you're going to drive the length of the field and come up with a miracle Hail Mary touchdown. So it's a smart play defensively. It was a smart play defensively, but you shouldn't have been in that position in the first place. Why did you fumble the ball? Because in a game where all game long, your offense was finally utilizing a little creativity. A lot of motion, a lot of unorthodox blocking schemes. Your offensive line was not being asked to win the line of scrimmage in a 5v5 battle straight up. You were moving guys. You were pulling guys. And again, like pulling offense and pulling guards, pulling tackles have been a part of the Shula offense all year. But like it hasn't been going well. And I don't know if this is Sean Elliott or not, but like all of a sudden, the pulls are efficient. Guys are getting to where they need to be. But I think a lot of that also had to do with the fact that because you were adding extra blockers, because you were adding slot wide receivers, except those slot wide receivers were lined up to the inside of a tackle, to the outside hip of a guard. And now they're an extra offensive lineman, but it's not just fire off and hit somebody. Like this guy is wrapping around the guard to get the second level, or he's stepping up to hit the end and the guard's pulling around him to get to the outside. Whatever the scheme might have been, there was a lot of different schemes that were being played that we had not seen before. And because there were a lot of schemes being played that we had not seen before, that meant Alabama hadn't seen it before. And they just were not reacting to it. And you took advantage. And then all of the sudden, you get to the end of the game. Your offense needs 30, 40 yards. You're in field goal range for the walk-off in that spot. And what play do we dial up? Inside run, quarterback draw. And not just quarterback draw and Lenore's be creative. Like, it's like, no, follow your lead blocker off center. We go back to, as we have a bunch of times, we go back to the last few games. And I have had one primary complaint. It is not that you're running off guard, off tackle. It is not that you're running inside. It's that you're running inside to the weakest spot on your offensive line, your guard center combo. And you're doing it consistently. And so in the biggest play of the biggest game of the year, that's what you do again. Like the thing that hasn't worked yet. You have got a playbook of stuff that has been working for 3.85 quarters, 3.9 quarters. Playbook of stuff that's been working. And then in the moment that it was most important, in the moment that it was the biggest, at that spot, you decide, let's go back to the thing that wasn't working that lost us a bunch of games. Okay. All right. That's what it was to me. That's what happened. That's what went wrong. That's what it was. Texter said, Rob, it's all of a sudden, not all of the sudden. Please fix your grammar. I looked that up, Texter, and you are absolutely correct. That is absolutely correct. The correct phrase is all of a sudden, not all of the sudden. So, Texter, I would like to say, and I mean this sincerely, thank you very much for correcting that, because I have always said all of the sudden, and it is meant to be all of a sudden. So I appreciate that.
You're not going to change.
No, I absolutely will.
Here's the thing: if you are tuning into this show for proper grammar, always, no, it's
not the right place for it, but yeah, I still like to know.
I mean,
now there was, I will say
maybe
this,
a morning show that has proper grammar. I don't.
There is a correct usage of all of the sudden, but it is in a case where you are talking about the sudden moment. The idiom all of a sudden is when you are talking about kind of a contextual moment of time. If we are saying if I'm telling a story about a specific time, if I was to say we got a text that talked about my grammar all of the sudden, that would be correct. But the idiom is all of a sudden. So Texter, thank you for correcting my grammar. I appreciate that very much. I appreciate all you hanging out. Stick around. Back after this, the Rob Brown Show is on the Fan Upstate.
This haughty morning moment brought to you by Ducalax.
I like doing good speakings.
You sure do, tough Freddie.
You got a pretty mouth. All right, stay right there. Be right back. this year. The eligibility in question comes from the fact that this Gonzaga player, and I do want to pull up the exact details, so stick with me for just a minute because I lost them during the break. I'm awesome. Here it is.
So that's why you kept saying Gonzaga player, because you couldn't remember the name.
I couldn't remember his name.
Okay, all right.
Tyon Grant Foster is his name. Granted a preliminary injunction by a Spokane County judge, allowing him to play for Gonzaga this season. Here is how the story worked out. Originally, Grant Foster was a member of the 2018 high school class. He went on to play 2 seasons at Indian Hills Community College before transferring to Kansas, played 22 games for the Jayhawks in 2020-21. Then he transferred to DePaul. At halftime of the Blue Demons' first game of the 2021-22 season, Grant Foster collapsed in the locker room, was rushed to a hospital, underwent multiple heart surgeries, missed 16 months of action. He returned to the court at Grand Canyon for the 23-24 season. He ended up winning the WAC Player of the Year after averaging 20.1 and 6.1 boards, led the Lopes to the NCAA tournament and the program's first NCAA tournament win over St. Mary's, followed that up with averages of 14.8 and 5.9 boards last season. That was before he transferred to Gonzaga. The NCAA considered Grant Foster's 2 years at Indian Hills and 2 years at Grand Canyon as his 4 years of eligibility. However, Grant Foster's lawyers argued that the blanket waiver given to former junior college transfers in December of 2024 should give him 1 more year of eligibility. The Spokane County judge has agreed to that. Now, this is a notable development for Gonzaga, the basketball team, as Grant Foster is a candidate to start up front alongside all WCC first-teamers Graham Ike and Braden Huff. He went directly from the courthouse to Gonzaga's exhibition game against Western Oregon, which started less than an hour after the ruling from Judge Marla Poland. Gonzaga opens the regular season November 3rd against Texas Southern, and Grant Foster will be on the team. Now, this is not about this particular waiver. In fact, I do not suspect that there are many more Division I college athletes, or even D2, but Division I college athletes out there that fit the profile of Tyon Grant Foster. I doubt that there are many more players who have not filed a lawsuit. Diego Pavia was in this group that have not filed a lawsuit, making the argument in front of a judge at some level that the waiver that was handed out in 2024 should retroactively apply to them. And then B, and this is really what the key to this lawsuit and the rest of the lawsuits are about, making the argument that junior college experience should not count towards NCAA experience because it's played under a different organization. So they're saying junior college, which is operated differently, separately from the NCAA, should not count towards NCAA eligibility. And the more that these types of lawsuits, even though this is for a different reason and a different situation, the more that these types of lawsuits end up going against the NCAA, and the more that, at this point, hell, every lawsuit goes against the NCAA, the more I believe, the more I am convinced that the NCAA may never win another lawsuit at this point. And so my question becomes, if they never win another lawsuit, and if more and more and more starts getting pulled out of the NCAA, we have talked for a very long time about what I believe to be the inevitability of college ball. And that is a or a couple of super conferences. Likely, it is the SEC and the Big Ten. They will add whoever else is left out there, Clemson, Florida State, Miami, Duke, North Carolina. And then you'll have 2 super conferences. Those 2 super conferences will play their own seasons. At the end of said seasons, the 2 super conference champs will play for the national championship in the grand scheme of things. And then everybody who is not invited to participate in the 2 super conferences will end up playing in what I have lovingly referred to as the EEC, as in the everybody else conference. So if, I don't know, Wake Forest. Wake Forest. Let's say Wake Forest. If Wake Forest doesn't get an invite to the SEC or the Big Ten, then they would be one of the schools in the EEC. And they would exist today the way that FCS football exists to FBS football in the future, right? Like everybody who's anybody will be in whatever the super conferences are called, but that will be effectively FBS. And all the schools that do not get invited to participate, they will all play at a lower level. That will be the new age FCS. And that the EEC, the FCS level, could be enormous because you will still have a desire for schools, small schools, Furmans, Woffords, to be able to play football. So is now there a third level of college football? Is it the Wakes of the world that do not get invited to the big show, who develop a second level? That's the new FCS. And the schools that are FCS now are FDS? I don't know how that's going to work. But here is what I am looking at. If we see the continued loss of lawsuit after lawsuit by the NCAA, remember we told you yesterday about the lawsuit that was filed right here in South Carolina, which awarded $18 million, 10 to a former player named Robert Gaithers, who played at SC State back from 77 to 80, and $8 million to his wife, upon whom he is dependent now because he suffers from dementia and other mental issues. And those mental issues were testified to on a stand as connected to having CTE. And while CTE cannot be diagnosed, as of today, CTE cannot be diagnosed until the person in question is deceased. The best they can do is say this is very symptomatic, and it is very much connected to. It is very much connected to CTE. So the NCAA is now obligated to pay this man $18 million. Well, him 10, his wife 8. Though there is an appeal available to the NCAA, and the belief is that it will be appealed. Now, do I think that the NCAA is going to win that appeal? No, I definitely do not. I do not. And that's $18 million off the books. And if that guy, Robert Gaithers, is able to get $18 million out of the NCAA, do you not think that there's going to be another few dozen, another few hundred former players out there who are now suffering from mental issues, whether it's dementia or something else, and caretakers and spouses, etc., that are going to say, wait a minute, if Robert Gaithers got $18 million, and the ruling, by the way, very quickly, because this is important, the ruling, by the way, was that they owe $18 million because a jury was convinced in a civil suit. So there's no legal standing on this. It's a civil suit. But a jury was convinced in this civil suit that the NCAA was aware enough in 1977, 8, 9, and 80. They were convinced in the late 1970s that concussions could lead to lifelong damage and did not pass that information on. Now, the NCAA is appealing and saying, wait a minute, we did pass on everything that we knew because player safety was important to us then, just like it's important to us now. But we did pass on everything that we knew. But it was, at least in this one case, successfully argued in front of a jury that the NCAA knew more than they indicated, more than they let on, and that they did not inform the players how serious this was. $18 million awarded. Do you not think there's another few dozen, another few hundred former players out there who might see that and all of a sudden decide this is a great time to file a lawsuit as well? And if all of that happens, now all of a sudden the NCAA, which again is at the point where they are about to watch millions of dollars. They already are because of how much money they owe in back NIL / back rev share down the line, whatever it is. They're going to be in a spot now where now they might be on the hook for tens, maybe hundreds of millions of more damages if this civil suit becomes one that is refiled by former players over and over, and they lose over and over and over again. I circle all of this to say, if this organization keeps losing these lawsuits like this, and I'm not saying that they will or won't, should or shouldn't, not taking a stance on that. What I'm saying is this. If they do keep losing these lawsuits, then we might be speed running our way to the super conferences. It may get to a point where the conferences say, look, it is not viable for the NCAA at this point to exist. They are going to have to cease to exist. They are going to have to liquidate everything to pay off as much of these lawsuits as they can pay off. And that's just going to mean that there is no governing body. And if there is no governing body, which is more likely? That the Big Ten and the SEC prop up a new ACC, or that the Big Ten and the SEC prop up their own agency that they are directly in charge of as the conferences. And if that is the case, do you think anybody's going to be able to compete with that? Anybody's going to be able to prop up a new NCAA that is going to be able to take the everybody else conference and compete with the Big Ten and the SEC? Absolutely not, because everybody who's anybody will be in those super conferences. Point that I'm making is, I have said for a long time, I think the super conferences are in inevitability. But the reality of the situation now is we might be speed running our way to that. We might be flying towards that if the NCAA keeps losing lawsuits like this. When we come back, I got two really funny, not really sports, but maybe a little sports, but not super sports related stories that I want to share with you before we get up out of here. I'm Rob Alonso. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Be right back, dudes and dudettes.
also haven't played anybody. You could probably say the same thing.
That's why it's opponent adjusted.
Yeah, okay.
So that is, they are outperforming what they are expected to do against bad opponents, just like you are dramatically outperforming what you're expected against good opponents. Another very interesting thing is that Boise State, USF, Houston, Tulane, Memphis are all right stacked on top of each other. That's all the group of 5 contenders, with the exception of Navy. Where's Navy? Is Navy on here? I don't see Navy. It might be covered up. South Carolina is well above average in well above average on defensive EPA, but well below average in offensive EPA adjusted to opponents.
Ooh, there's a video of aliens landing in Poland,
Mm-hmm.
and they're out investigating. They look like they hop. They don't walk. That's weird. Maybe he's limping. Maybe he's like that alien from Galaxy Quest, one that got ate by all the other aliens.
All right, here we go. The Rob Brown Show on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. I've given you a couple of, we've given you a lot of sports story today. Talked a lot about college football. Talked about the coaching quest. There are 10 open jobs in college football right now. 10 in the season. Most available in season in FBS football history at this point. And there are expected to be from 2 to 5 more that come open at the end of the year. We're talking power and upper level conference jobs. We could have up to 15 jobs open the day after the national championship game. Lane Kiffin is about to open up a can of worms because of the amount of money that he is going to receive offers for. LSU is in the mix. They are one of those money is no object schools. Penn State is in the mix. If Adidas really is buying out James Franklin's contract on behalf of Penn State, money will be no object for them. Florida is in the mix. They only owe Billy Napier $22 million, less than half of what Brian Kelly is owed and James Franklin is owed. Not that money will be no issue for Florida, but they've got a lot of resources. It won't be. There's 3 jobs right there, all expected to be bidding on the services of one Lane Kiffin, which means that the price for everybody is about to go up. The price for everybody is about to go up. I'm really intrigued to see what direction all of this is going to go in down the line. I'm really interested to see what the ultimate result of this whole thing is. I think that this has got great potential to change the way that we look at college football coaches down the line, or that college football coaches are treated down the line. I think you are going to see, likely at some point in the future, I think you are going to start to see head coaching contracts that are very similar to like NFL player contracts. There are guaranteed years. There is guaranteed salary within those years, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm interested to see how this plays out. All right, now, two stories. One is sports adjacent-ish. The other is absolutely not, but I just find it hysterical. Both of these are news pieces from legitimate, actual, credible news outlets. The first one that I want to play for you is from a news outlet in Washington State. I don't know how to set it up any better than that. So enjoy.
Some say it's art. Some say it's a big distraction. One thing is for sure, it has folks in historic Ellicott City talking.
And they're also taking sides over this, too. This fight is over produce, specifically a peach and an eggplant. Not the kind you buy in the store. Instead, it's these giant art installations at businesses along Main Street. A peach at one store, an eggplant at another. And if you know anything about emojis, you know both symbols have been used to describe certain body parts. Well, now the Historical Preservation Commission said they need to be removed because they don't blend in with the historic nature of the neighborhood.
It was this big, beautiful orange peach. And at first, honestly, I was like, wow.
I don't quite understand the innuendo because I have one of those body parts and it doesn't look like that. And it's not purple. So I'm not sure really how that came about. It's kind of weird. So I just find it comical that people think that.
Go ahead, Sean.
All right. The man who owns many of these properties tried to get signatures to save the peach and the eggplant, but the Historical Preservation Commission so far insists they must be removed.
They keep them so like polished and they're bright and shiny, and it's like you can see them from a block away. It's crazy.
Never seen a peach like that.
All right.
So it's all about that last part, huh?
10,000%.
Mm-hmm.
10,000%. Did I want to give credit to the news anchors there for getting to the end of what was already a hilarious deal and just knock it off with, I've never seen him look that polished before. You can see him from a block away.
Going to ask you if
shiny peach.
If you would do that.
1,000%.
But I know you would. So
1,000%. Now, in fairness, if I was on the news, like it would depend on have I been an anchor for like a very long time and it's really funny and I'm good and I'm comfortable in my job, then yeah, absolutely. I would do it on this show without a question.
Well, yeah.
I've literally called home runs giant dongs for 5 years now.
Don't do that. Don't. So you're implying it means something else.
No, not at all. I'm just saying,
Okay.
I know that some of you people with perverted juvenile minds do. And the point is, I'm not going to let that be claimed by those of you who keep your minds in the gutters. All right. It's just not going to happen.
I appreciate you standing up for that.
It's what I believe in. And I think if you're not standing up for what you believe in, what are you standing up for? Now, let me give you one more. This is a piece that was run by the Wall Street Journal.
I don't think you're going to see a bunch of butt cheeks hanging out and things like that, to be really frank with you.
For years, Hooters has been operated by two different companies. One owned by private equity that emphasizes the brand's sex appeal, and the other, which includes the original founders, that says the restaurant is actually family-oriented and always has been. After filing for bankruptcy earlier this year, Hooters says it's trying to bring all its restaurants back to that purportedly more wholesome vision, and this is the man leading that effort.
We watched the deterioration of not only the execution of the brand, but also the sales, but we were helpless to do anything about it. So I think this entire brand going through bankruptcy was totally unnecessary.
The waitresses, known as Hooters girls, have always worn low-cut tops and shorts. But in 2021, the restaurants owned by private equity launched a controversial new uniform.
They took it and made it, sexualized it. One made it shorter, almost shorter than hot pants. That is offensive to most people, particularly in a restaurant setting. When this brand started, and still the way we run our store, it's an athletic fit. In 1983 and the 70s, jogging was huge. The dolphin short was the short that everybody wore.
After receiving backlash on social media, the new uniform policy was updated, giving staff members a choice of what shorts to wear. Private equity firm Triartisan Capital Advisors didn't provide a comment, and private equity firm Nordbay Capital didn't respond to requests for comment. Kiefer says he plans to standardize the uniform across all restaurants to feature the original shorts.
My understanding is at the Hooters of America stores, they could actually sit next to guests.
We don't allow that, okay? Sitting down with the customer, I didn't ask you to sit down here. That's a little too cozy. And by the way, my wife's sitting right there. Yeah, why don't you sit with her? That's crossing the line. That's not required for good service, and we frankly don't allow it.
We're Hooters girls, and no, we're not on them.
All right. So
when did that change?
That has been that way for a while.
Because I have pictures.
The sitting down part?
Yeah, I have pictures that would prove otherwise.
From way back in the day?
Well, I don't know. Maybe
this is from like the last 20 years.
Yeah, well, it would have been.
Okay.
Because we were doing a live remote. And
no, that's different. That's different. If you're there and you're working, you're doing a remote, it's different that they sit with you when you're doing a show versus sitting with me if I'm just a paying customer.
Okay,
right?
All right. I don't know why it's different. I didn't ask them to sit down.
Correct, but you're paying to be there. You're part of a show. You're a show, right?
Okay.
I'm sitting in the corner trying to drink a beer and eat some wings. I'm part of the show. Now, I have a couple of things I want to say real quick in the next minute and 45 seconds about Hooters. Number one, I used to go to Hooters all the time, both when I was growing up with my old man, and then after I grew up, I went to Hooters by myself. And I stand on this. I don't lie to you on the radio program. I went because Hooters wings used to kick ass. They had the best wings in the game. They had the best breading in the game. They had the best texture and mouthfeel in the game. And they had the biggest, fattest, juiciest wings in the game. I meant this to the point that for a very long time, when I used to do a show, because for 2 years, I did a radio show called the Hooters Sports Show, hosted by Rob Brown. Every night of the week, I was in a different Hooters doing my show. And I, at one point, ran a little dealio on my show where I talked the guy that owned the Hooters, a guy by the name of Stuart Houston, phenomenal human being, passed away a few years ago. I talked Stu into one night a week because I said, hey, there's a lot of fellas that want to come, but they can't because they got wives and kids, and their wives and kids are no. So we ran a deal where one night of the week when Rob Brown was doing a show at a different Hooters, We did a family night, and the girls came in, and they wore long pants, and they wore like sweaters or T-shirts or whatever, no cleavage, no nothing. They were covered up entirely, and that way the fellas could come in and say, see, I really do like the wings here. They have the best wings in the game. And they had the coldest beer, and they had a billion TVs. And then they got corporatized. And for those of you that always go, oh, Rob, you liberal work warrior, blah, blah, blah. This is why I complain about private equity taking over everything. Because when it does, they do not give a damn about quality or what you want. They care about one thing and one thing alone, which is maximizing profit. So when that happened, Hooters went to crappier wings. They dropped the quality of the breading. The wings suffered as a whole. And now all of a sudden, there's no reason for me to go there. Because, yeah, I will tell you straight up, I'm not going there for hot waitresses. Is that a nice little side bonus for a lot of fellas? Sure. We'd be lying if it wasn't. But at the same time, it ain't the reason I used to go to Hooters. I used to go to Hooters because the wings were phenomenal. Then they got bought out. It became all about profit, not about quality of the food. The wings suffered, and then Hooters started to suck a bunch. Now, the OG owners are back and buying up the Hooters back from the private equity firms, and they want to go back to OG Hooters. If they go back to OG Hooters, your boy will be back. I will be their biggest fan. Bring back OG Hooters, where those wings were without question the best in the game, dog.
And now the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter.
I stand on all that.
Okay, there's a sagging joke in there somewhere. But anyway. The first thing that is Xing is Kevin Stefanski.
Kevin Stefanski is Xing because it was announced yesterday that Carson Wentz is going out for the season. He's got to have surgery because he's got a torn labrum, and he's got a sprained shoulder, and he's got a fractured shoulder joint. All those things sound really bad. Yet, that happened back on October 5th, which means that Carson Wentz has played like multiple games with those injuries. I believe that this past Thursday was his second or third game with those injuries. And so the question mark is, did Carson Wentz lie to the Vikings and say, I'm not hurt, I'm fine? Or did he not lie to the Vikings? And maybe he lied about the severity, but the Vikings didn't say anything about it and just trotted him out there to get his ass kicked with a broken freaking shoulder anyway. All of this coming back around to Kevin Stefanski, because the other question mark is Carson Wentz starting because Kevin Stefanski can't work with J.J. McCarthy? And that is the question that a lot of Minnesota Vikings fans have right now is J.J. McCarthy a guy? Is he a dude that can make something happen? Or did we overestimate what he is and what he can do? And I don't know that we know an answer to that yet.
All right, the next thing is Xing is Draymond Green.
Draymond Green Xing because he did something last night. Now, I'm not going to lie. I don't know what Draymond did last night because I don't care.
I do.
Please tell me.
You should look it up.
Oh God, did he punch somebody?
No, he got called for a flagrant foul, and the free throw was missed.
Yep.
And he did a wonderful dance afterwards.
I see it now.
Yes.
It's like he's riding like a hobby. He's like the dollar bill from Xavier Leggett.
Yeah.
And he does it around homeboy who shot the free throw.
Oh, come on. It's funny. Here's
what we got last
up.
night. I just found it. Full Court Pass just put up. The sequence of events was turnover, tackled Santi Aldama by the neck from behind. So there's the Draymond Green.
Okay.
Yelled, "You soft as at him." Jaren Jackson Jr. came over to his face, told Jaren Jackson Jr. to shut the up, and then danced in their faces when they missed both free throws.
Was the soft guy the one who missed the
He called the guy who, again, he tackled by the neck soft.
Yeah.
And then when Jaren Jackson came over in what was, obviously very clearly like a level 19 technical foul, called him, quote, soft as bleep. And then when Jaren Jackson Jr. came over to stand up for his boy, said, shut TF up. And then hit the celly when homeboy missed the free throw because ball don't lie.
So he did his job. Whether we like him or not, that's his job.
He did Draymond things.
Yes, he did. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I thought the dance was funny. It's wrong, but funny. The next thing that's Xing is Alexa Bliss.
Alexa Bliss is Xing because she just should be. Like a lot of the time.
Her hair, Lyra Valkyria's hair got stuck in Alexa Bliss's shirt.
Okay.
And so she had to take her shirt off in the middle of the match in order to.
I'm assuming when you shirt, you mean T-shirt.
Well, her gear.
Her gear.
But
that's
she
big
had,
different.
Yeah, she had something on underneath, so like a sports bra or something.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and say that right now. I'm assuming that Alexa Bliss is about to get a very big spike in Google searches around the upstate of South
there's
Carolina.
a reason why she was Xing.
That's fair.
I mean,
there is.
But it's okay. Everyone was okay. I guess they got it dislodged from Lyra Valkyrie's
Good. I was
hair.
very worried about the health, safety, and
they may have had to cut Lyra's hair off.
That's honestly that's what I was worried about.
And it's green.
Yeah, that's what I was worried about.
All right, the next thing that's Xing is Travis Kelce.
Travis Kelce Xing because last night Travis Kelce scored his 83rd touchdown as a member of the Kansas City Chiefs. He is now tied with Priest Holmes for the most touchdowns scored by any Chief in franchise history. There's also a video going around of him. I guess him and Tay-Tay decided to go out and grab dinner after the game last night. And I will say, I thought that this was pretty cool of them. They went to the restaurant. Obviously, they know that that's going to be a thing. Apparently, the two of them went around and said hello to every table. Just like, what's up? We're Trav. I'm Taylor. Nice to meet you. Hey. So that everybody could have their moment so that they could go in the back and have dinner.
Did they go to Travis's restaurant, though?
I don't know.
I mean, because that's kind of, so
yeah.
He's greeting patrons if it's that case, so he's kind of working.
I don't know where they went. I don't know what the restaurant was. I don't honestly particularly care all that much. I just thought,
it's
all right.
1587 or 8715. I forget which one. Steakhouse, which is supposedly pretty good. When we go there, we'll definitely go. All right, and finally,
cool way of them to give everybody a chance to have their moment, but then also go have their moment.
The last thing that is Xing is Freddie Freeman.
Freddie Freeman Xing because after 18 innings, that is an entire second baseball game after the first baseball game. Bottom 18, Freddie Freeman said, "Good night, Toronto." Went gigantic dong to center. It was an incredible moment that I slept through because it happened at, and this is not a joke, 2:50 a.m. this morning. Game 3 is tonight, and hopefully only tonight and not also tomorrow morning. Enjoy it. We're back tomorrow. We'll break down Game 4 tomorrow morning on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Later.
Nobody's perfect, but I am very, very close.
I don't know if I played that after the mistake you made, but we weren't able to.
You know what?
Fix it.
I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. No, not that. I'm an idiot. You said Kevin Stefanski, and I started talking about Kevin O'Connell.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. And Jim caught that.
So I sound like a jackass to anybody who's not watching on the stream to recognize that I recognize my mistake. Because again, I'm an idiot.
We didn't have time to fix it. So
you should have called me out on it.
I should have.
And then I've gone, oh crap, you're right. I'm a dummy.
But I am ill and not as quick as normal. And I did this. Wait a minute. I thought he coached
That's a different guy.
Cleveland.
Yeah.
And by that time we were already out of time.
All right, dudes and dudettes, I got stuff to do, so we got to go. Thanks for being here. You're all amazing people. Tell your friends about us. We're trying to get rich, famous, and retired, not necessarily in that order. We don't care what order it happens, just that it happens. Have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday. Enjoy Game 4 of the World Series tonight, and we will see you back here tomorrow. Goodbye.